Chapter 4509. Boom! In the blink of an eye, the two nomological storms clashed together, erupting with destructive power. I don't believe that you can even replicate a sovereign weapon. The Kuan Peng and the dragon god looked at each other. With a loud clang, two pinnacle sovereign divine weapons appeared. It instantly recovered and charged towards Qin Feiyang and the others with a monstrous sharpness. Since the pinnacle sovereign weapons have come to us, we'll gladly accept them, Qin Feiyang said domineeringly. It was as if the two pinnacle sovereign weapons were already in their pockets. Boom! 3,000 clones were activated. The 7 ultimate laws of life and death instantly appeared, exuding a destructive aura. There were a total of 24,000. With the eruption of 2 wills of the Great Path, the 24,000 ultimate laws instantly shattered the mountains and the earth as they charged toward the 2 pinnacle sovereign weapons. Oh no! The Kuan Peng and the dragon god immediately knew that things were not going well. In a moment of impulse, they forgot that Qin Feiyang had 3,000 clones. A pinnacle sovereign weapon could intimidate any wills of the Great Path, except for Qin Feiyang. This was because the 3,000 clones allowed him to have the combat power to crush a pinnacle sovereign weapon. Of course. The Frenzied One's 10,000 evil sword, the Inner Demon's 10,000 demon true body, and Dong Hanzong's Qian Kuan domain all had the same ability. As for the White-Eyed Wolf's battle soul, it was still unknown. This was because the true lethality of the Ingrate's 4th innate ability was something that no one knew except for the Ingrate himself. Clang! Crack! With a loud sound, the 2 pinnacle sovereign weapons shattered on the spot. Qin Feiyang stepped forward, and the power of laws surged out toward the 2 sovereign weapons. Quick, stop him! The Kuan Peng roared. The combat power of Qin Feiyang and the others was already so terrifying. If they obtained 2 more pinnacle sovereign weapons, wouldn't they turn the world upside down? Although the 2 sovereign weapons were shattered, their artifact spirits were still present. They wanted to escape. At the same time, 110,000 wills of the Great Path experts instinctively activated their ultimate laws when they heard the Kuan Peng's roar. Because the ultimate profound was their strongest technique. Once a person encountered an emergency, the first thing they would think of would be their strongest means. No. Seeing this, Dong Qingyuan's expression changed abruptly, and he hurriedly tried to stop him. If he activated the ultimate meaning now, wouldn't that be the same as helping Qin Feiyang? Perhaps Qin Feiyang had been waiting for them to activate the ultimate meaning. In short, the ability of the Eye of Heaven was to borrow force to fight force. The stronger the enemy, the greater the lethality of the Eye of Heaven. However, but it was too late. Ding! Following a series of deafening dragon roars, 1 purple gold dragon soul after another emerged. Indeed. Right now, Qin Feiyang was really looking forward to these people activating their ultimate mysteries. Because in this way, the number of replicated ultimate profound meanings and his own 24,000 ultimate profound meanings would far surpass the opponent's, allowing him to break through in one fell swoop. By the time the 110,000 powerhouses of the will of the heavens reacted, the 3,000 avatars had already duplicated hundreds of thousands of ultimate truths. Immediately, a monstrous aura surged like a raging wave, rolling between heaven and earth. The terrifying aura caused even Princess Yuxian and Dong Hanzong's expressions to change drastically. If the 2 forces collided, 1/10 of the Central Dynasty's territory would be destroyed in an instant. That's right. The Central Dynasty was huge. Even if it was only 1/10 of it, it was still several times larger than the Sky Cloud realm. Looking at this scene, the 110,000 powerhouses of the will of the heavens regretted it. Why did they activate the ultimate meaning on impulse? However, there was no turning back. Qin Feiyang's 3,000 avatars had already been duplicated. Even if they dispersed the ultimate meaning now, the ultimate meaning duplicated by the 3,000 avatars would not disappear. So, they could only brace themselves and do it. Kill. Almost at the same time, there was an earth-shaking battle cry from both sides. The ultimate meaning on both sides were like a torrent, charging towards each other. "Bastard, I'm going to destroy you all," Princess Yuxian shouted angrily. The long sword formed by the origin force also carried a sharp edge that could destroy heaven and earth, charging towards Qin Feiyang and the others from behind. "Don't worry about the origin force," Mu Tianyang shouted. There was a trace of anxiousness in his expression. Because although the origin force was very strong, its speed was controlled by Princess Yuxian. So in a short period of time, the origin force could not catch up with them. As for Qin Feiyang, although he had been fighting with Dong Qingyuan and the others, he did not stop. So the distance between them and Princess Yuxian and the others was still the same as before. Boom! Accompanied by an earth-shaking loud noise, the ultimate meaning on both sides directly collided. Sure enough, the terrifying battle fluctuations swept in all directions. Everywhere it went, the sky fell and the earth cracked. It was like the scene of the end of the world, which could be said to be shocking. In the end, as expected, it was Qin Feiyang's ultimate profound that allowed him to achieve an overwhelming victory. Because they had a huge advantage in terms of numbers. As the remaining ultimate meaning arrived, the blood of the various beast kings and demon kings, the 10 direct descendants, and the members of the death god army splashed across the sky one after another. Screams of agony resounded through heaven and earth. The originally neat formation was instantly messed up. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Qin Feiyang led the white-eyed wolf and the others, activated 2 wills of the Great Path and the split time, and instantly passed through. At the same time, the white-eyed wolf attacked and suppressed the 2 broken sovereign divine weapons. Damn it! Stop them even if you have to risk your lives, Princess Yuxian roared. If they let this group of people escape, they would be able to soar freely. Just like a few years ago. Qin Feiyang and the others had been hiding and cultivating, and no one knew where they were hiding. So if they missed this opportunity, it would be extremely difficult to find such a good opportunity to surround and kill Qin Feiyang and the others. Dong Qingyuan's appearance was even more miserable now. Because he had also been severely injured by the ultimate meaning. If he had not dodged in time, he would have died by now. Hearing Princess Yuxian's shout, he immediately turned to look at the backs of Qin Feiyang and the others. It's not too late to keep them. All of you, self-destruct. All of a sudden, he roared, and there was a trace of madness in his words. What? All of you, self-destruct. Qin Feiyang and the others were shocked and turned to look at Dong Qingyuan and the others. He actually asked everyone to self-destruct. In other words, these people had split their divine souls in advance to save their lives before coming to the 10,000 Demons Valley? Didn't this mean that the monster kings, beast kings, members of the death god army, and the people of the top 10 families who had died in their hands were actually still alive? Originally, they were quite satisfied with this battle. Not only did they successfully rescue Lunatic, but they also diverted the evil forces of the 10,000 Demons Valley and caused the Central Dynasty's will of the Great Path to suffer heavy losses. However, hearing Dong Qingyuan's words, their good mood instantly disappeared. Quick! Otherwise they will escape. The Kuan Peng and the Dragon God also roared. And Dong Qingyuan, the Kuan Peng, and the Dragon God seemed to want to set an example and took the lead in self-destructing. A terrifying aura instantly spread out in a frenzy. Watching Dong Qingyuan and the other 2 self-destruct, the Beast Kings, the Monster Kings, all the members of the Death God army, and the people of the top 10 families did not hesitate. Boom! Almost instantly, everyone self-destructed. One must know. Even if they had suffered heavy losses before, there were at least 100,000 people left. Although most of these 100,000 people were seriously injured, it did not affect them from self-destructing. 100,000 people self-destructed at the same time. And they were all will of the Great Path powerhouses. What kind of concept was this? It was not an exaggeration to say that it could destroy the world. Qin Feiyang looked solemn. Faster. The white-eyed wolf urged. With so many people self-destructing, even if he activated the fourth supernatural power, it would be meaningless. Because he knew very well that the fourth supernatural power could not swallow the fluctuations of this self-destruction. Mu Tianyang, Lin Yi, the sea lion demon king, and the demon ancestor were also helpless against the fluctuations of this self-destruction. Because Eye of Despair, Eye of Evil, and Eye of Oblivion could only target living creatures. Similarly, no matter how heaven-defying Qin Feiyang's Eye of Heaven was, it was impossible to replicate others' self-destruction. With his strength, he could not block this fluctuation. In other words, self-destruction was unsolvable. Unless one had a stronger strength than self-destruction, everything was in vain. But now, obviously, they did not have such strength. After all, too many people self-destructed at the same time. Isn't your Eye of Heaven very powerful? Do you have the ability to replicate the fluctuations of their self-destruction? Dong Hanzong looked at the backs of Qin Feiyang and the others from a distance and sneered. 3,000 incarnations, help this fluctuation. Qin Feiyang shouted. 3,000 incarnations immediately turned and stood in a row. The power of the major laws surged out, condensing into a row of barriers as tall as the sky in front. Boom! The fluctuations of the self-destruction swept over. Even if the power of these laws contained double will of the Great Path, it could not block this fluctuation. It collapsed instantly. 3,000 incarnations were also annihilated. Because the power of the self-destruction would far exceed the strength of the self-destructor. For example, you are a half-step sovereign realm expert. When you self-destruct, the lethality of the self-destruction would be enough to kill an initial sovereign realm expert and severely injure a lesser sovereign realm expert. Even a greater sovereign realm expert would be threatened. Therefore, no matter who it was, once the opponent self-destructed, they would be in an extremely dangerous situation. Damn you! You don't follow the rules of the underworld. The white-eyed wolf was extremely angry. Everyone self-destructed at the slightest disagreement. Wasn't this cheating? Seeing that Qin Feiyang and the others were about to be engulfed by the fluctuations of the self-destruction, Dong Zhengyang suddenly waved his hand and the Book of Destiny appeared. Just as he was about to open the Book of Destiny again, a space-time passage appeared and a white figure walked out like a savior. This person was Long Chen. However, the current Long Chen was covered in wounds and bloodstains. His originally elegant and otherworldly temperament was now in an extremely sorry state. Little Chen. The white-eyed wolf's eyes lit up. Looks like you guys can't do it without me. Long Chen chuckled. The God domain opened and instantly merged with the heavens and earth. Boom! In the next moment, the power of the natural order between heaven and earth surged and blocked their path. Chapter 45:10. The rule force of the divine kingdom was indeed extraordinary. The terrifying self-detonation shockwaves were all blocked. However, Qin Feiyang and the others didn't even have time to breathe a sigh of relief. Princess Yuxian and Dong Hanzong rushed over. Princess Yuxian had the origin force, so she naturally wasn't afraid of the explosion. I only paused for a moment and they caught up. The white-eyed wolf raised his eyebrows. There's no other way. After all, Dong Hanzong also has two heavens will now. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Princess Yuxian looked at the few of them and locked her eyes on Long Chen, saying coldly, God's domain, I want to see if it's really that powerful. Boom! The origin force rushed over. The barrier condensed by the rule force immediately collapsed. After all, the origin force was a force that was above the rule force. Naturally, the rule force couldn't be the opponent of the origin force. Not only was the rule force broken, but even the God's domain was instantly annihilated. This was the power of the origin force. It was invincible and nothing couldn't be broken. Damn woman, you're not done yet, right? Now, there's only the two of you left. The white-eyed wolf's eyes flashed fiercely. That's right, there's only the two of us left. But so what? Can you block my origin force? Princess Yuxian smiled contemptuously, and the origin force immediately rushed towards Qin Feiyang and the others. Go. Long Chen's pupils shrank. Want to leave? Dong Hanzong sneered and opened the sealed god domain. An invisible force was like a tide, covering the sky and earth and enveloping Qin Feiyang and the others. This was the sealed god domain's remarkable ability. Sealing God's force, rule force, and rule force. As the rule force was sealed, Qin Feiyang was no longer able to open the moment of time. The power of origin was already close at hand. A sense of death crisis rose in his heart. At this time, accompanied by a beast roar, the battle's soul heaven-swallowing beast appeared. Swallow his Qian Kun domain for me. The white-eyed wolf roared. As long as the universe domain was broken, Dong Hanzong would no longer be a threat. This was because once the universe domain was broken, it could only be opened again the next day. Don't even think about it. Princess Moon Fairy smiled coldly. In the blink of an eye, another strand of origin energy appeared and shot towards the heaven-devouring battle soul at lightning speed. There's still origin energy in his body? White-eyed wolf's heart sank. How can I not leave some leeway when dealing with you? Princess Moon Fairy sneered. Damned woman, you're forcing me, aren't you? Let me try and see if I can swallow your source energy. The white-eyed wolf bristled with anger. The heaven-devouring fighting soul beast opened its mouth wide, and a strong wind howled between heaven and earth. Boom! When the wisp of origin energy entered the fighting soul heaven-swallowing beast's mouth, there was a loud bang and the white-eyed wolf's fighting soul collapsed on the spot. This, white-eyed wolf's expression froze. He didn't even have the slightest bit of power to resist. Little Qin Zi's 3,000 incarnations couldn't do anything to the power of origin. Little Madman's all-evil sword couldn't do anything to the power of origin. Now, even his fighting soul couldn't stop the power of origin. Ask yourself. In this world, was there anything that could compete with the power of origin? Now, you have nowhere to run. Dong Hanzong grinned. With the protection of Princess Moon Fairy's death domain, the demon ancestor, Mu Tianyang, and Lin Yi's fighting souls were no longer a threat to him. As for Qin Feiyang, White-Eyed Wolf, and Long Chen, although they were powerful, the power of origin could easily suppress them. So, no matter what, they would be the victorious party today. White-Eyed Wolf shouted, Dong Zhengyang, didn't you say that there would be no problem? The power of origin was already in front of them. Their physical bodies couldn't withstand the power of origin. They were cracking rapidly and dripping with blood. Don't worry, there will be no problem. Dong Zhengyang was also bleeding all over his body. His wounds were shocking, but he wasn't worried at all. Don't tell me I have to open the Book of Destiny again, Demon Ancestor frowned. Although he didn't know what the after effects of opening the Book of Destiny would be, judging from Dong Zhengyang's previous situation, it was better not to open it. The situation once again entered a critical state. Qin Feiyang and the others' laws, power, and divine power were all sealed, and they couldn't escape. White-Eyed Wolf's fighting soul also lost its effect. Now, they were equivalent to lambs being pressed on the chopping board without the power to fight back. To break this situation, they must break Dong Hanzong's seal. Old Qin, I am ready. Let me out quickly. Suddenly, Madman's laughter sounded in Qin Feiyang's mind. Senior brother. Qin Feiyang was shocked. He didn't have time to think about it. With a thought, Madman immediately appeared beside him. In his hand, he was holding a 3-foot-long sword. It was the all-evil sword. So strong. Qin Feiyang was shocked. At this moment, the all-evil sword gave him the feeling that it was like a wisp of origin force. The most important thing was, after Madman came out, he was also enveloped by the sealed god domain, but the all-evil sword in his hand showed no signs of dissipating. This is the evolved all-evil true body. The current me is already invincible. Madman laughed. He slashed out with his sword. It collided with the long sword formed by the origin force. Crack. Cracks immediately appeared on the all-evil sword. Still can't do it? Madman murmured. Boom. The all-evil force in his body surged out like a tide and poured into the all-evil sword. The aura that erupted from the all-evil sword was getting stronger and stronger. Moreover, the broken cracks were also rapidly repairing. What? Princess Moon Fairy was dumbfounded. The current all-evil sword could actually compete with the origin force? That's right. This was a struggle against the power of the origin. Although the all-evil sword was still inferior to the origin force couldn't completely destroy the all-evil sword for a while. Qin Feiyang, White-Eyed Wolf, Demon Ancestor, Mu Tianyang, Lin Yi, and Demon King Sea Lion were also dumbfounded. This was too ridiculously strong. It was simply beyond imagination. Erupt completely for me. Madman roared. The all-evil force in his body poured out without reservation. The all-evil sword instantly erupted with an apocalyptic power and forcibly blasted away the long sword formed by the origin force. Impossible. Princess Moon Fairy shook her head. Her face was full of disbelief. A mere evil force could actually compete with the origin force? It didn't make sense no matter how one looked at it. You're surprised by this? What's more surprising is yet to come. Madman laughed wildly. Boom. Suddenly, the all-evil sword emerged with the will of heaven. What? This is the aura of the will of heaven? Am I seeing things? How can the will of heaven appear in the all-evil sword? Not only Princess Yuxian and Dong Hanzong, but even Qin Feiyang and the others were dumbfounded. The will of heaven, everyone knew that it would only appear in the profound law. But now, it actually appeared in the all-evil sword, which completely exceeded their understanding of the will of heaven. I'm not seeing things. This is the will of heaven. The evolved all-evil true body can add the will of heaven to the all-evil sword, increasing the power of the all-evil sword by several times. Madman laughed. The all-evil sword that contained the will of heaven slashed at the long sword formed by the origin force. With a loud crack, the long sword shattered on the spot. A few wisps of origin force were instantly obliterated. Why? Princess Yuxian clenched her fists. It could actually obliterate a few wisps of origin force. Now, the all-evil sword obviously had the upper hand. Again. Madman laughed loudly and slashed out with his sword. But just as it was about to reach the origin force, the all-evil sword suddenly turned in the air and slashed at Princess Yuxian's domain of death. The domain of death immediately began to distort and deform, with cracks appearing one after another. This scene shocked Princess Yuxian so much that she broke out in cold sweat. It could actually threaten the domain of death. Dong Hanzong's gaze was also trembling. What kind of monster is this? Even the forbidden seal couldn't seal the all-evil force in his body. Now, he had a very real feeling, as if he was facing an existence on the same level as the ruler of the divine kingdom. The powerful pressure made him almost unable to breathe. This guy has become too strong. White-Eyed Wolf swallowed his saliva. As a brother and a comrade, even he couldn't help but feel a sense of fear. He is indeed very strong. But it's only this one time. Because he has already consumed all the evil force in the Thousand Devil Valley. Qin Feiyang frowned. As the ruler of the Black Tortoise world, he could clearly see that there was no more evil force in the Black Tortoise world. Obviously, the madman had already absorbed all the evil force. At this moment, The madman poured all the evil force into the all-evil sword without reservation, which made the all-evil sword so powerful. In other words, now, all the evil force in the Thousand Devil Valley had been consumed by the madman. The evil force was the source of the all-evil sword. Without the source, although the lethality of the all-evil sword was still very strong, it certainly couldn't be compared to now. So, that was why Qin Feiyang said that it was only this one time. In other words, in the future, it would be difficult for the madman's all-evil sword to display such lethality. Because there was no more evil force in his body now. Unless he could find another place like the Thousand Devil Valley in the future, and it had to be the same quality of evil force. Of course. There was another way. That was to keep absorbing the evil force. But even if he kept absorbing, even if the evil force in his body could reach this level in the end, who knew how long it would take? Consume all the evil force in the Thousand Devil Valley. The white-eyed wolf and the others looked at each other. They had all witnessed the evil force in the Thousand Devil Valley with their own eyes. Not only was it terrifying to the extreme, but it was also impossible to measure. Originally, they had transferred the evil force to the madman to use in the future, but they didn't expect that it would be squandered away now. This guy was too extravagant. But now, it seemed that this was the only way to get out of danger. It's because I can only use it once, so I have to enjoy this powerful force. The madman laughed. He could clearly feel that the all-evil sword at this moment had an invincible and indestructible force. This was the first time he felt such a powerful lethality. Of course. If he could use this opportunity to capture Princess Yuxian, even if he had to consume all the evil force in the Thousand Devil Valley, it would be worth it. Chapter 45:12. Come on. Let's have some fun today. The madman cackled. His scarlet eyes were like a wild beast's, making one's heart tremble. What are you being arrogant for? Princess Moon Fairy was furious. His whole body was filled with a bone-piercing cold current. As his voice fell, the dissipated origin force condensed into a long sword again, carrying a sharp edge that could destroy the world, charging towards the all-evil sword. We can't continue fighting like this. The white-eyed wolf frowned. Although the madman was very strong now, the current situation was not suitable for a protracted battle. Because Long Chen came to support them, the emperor would definitely come as well. The emperor, suddenly. The white-eyed wolf turned to look at Long Chen and asked, "Where is the emperor? How did you get rid of him? He is so strong, how can I get rid of him? It was only because someone helped me that I was able to escape. Otherwise, I might have already died in the imperial capital mountain." Long Chen smiled bitterly. Someone helped? The white-eyed wolf was stunned. Qin Feiyang and the others also looked at Long Chen in surprise. One had to know. That was imperial capital mountain, facing the emperor of the central dynasty, who would come to help them. Could it be, suddenly? A figure appeared in their minds at the same time. The mysterious young man. Yes, it's him. Long Chen nodded and smiled. Why would he go to imperial capital mountain? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. He seems to be there for sightseeing. Long Chen said with a strange expression. Sightseeing? The corners of their mouths could not help but twitch. Only he could think of going to Imperial Capital Mountain for sightseeing. However, the mysterious young man could really do this kind of thing. Actually, sightseeing is fake, helping us is real. Qin Feiyang sighed. Help us? The white-eyed wolf was puzzled. Yes. Think about it, why did he go to Imperial Capital Mountain for sightseeing at this time? Qin Feiyang smiled. White-eyed wolf thought about it carefully and nodded. You're right. This is too much of a coincidence. The power of the origin in his hands can crush the power of the origin of the divine kingdom, so he poses a greater threat to the divine kingdom than we do. Think about it, when the emperor finds out that he has come to the Imperial Capital Mountain, how will he react? I'll definitely rush back immediately. Qin Feiyang smiled. That makes sense. Ancestor Devil and the others nodded. The white-eyed wolf gritted his teeth and said, "It seems that this guy is still warm-hearted. Cold on the outside but warm on the inside. However, I am truly curious about his identity. Tell me, we are not related to him in any way, so why does he keep helping us?" Qin Feiyang was puzzled. When they were in the ancient realm, this person had been helping them. Even if he was beaten to death, he would not believe that the young man was purely doing a good deed for no reason. It is indeed very strange. But there is nothing we can do about it. We have asked him more than once, but every time, he would just play dumb. Tell me, we don't have the ability to force him to speak. The white-eyed wolf shook his head and smiled bitterly. Actually, his identity is not important. What is important is that he is not our enemy. Ancestor Devil smiled faintly. Everyone nodded. If this young man really became their enemy, they would probably be worried all day long like the Emperor, unable to eat or sleep well. Because this person was truly an existence that no one dared to ignore. Since the young man was at the imperial capital mountain, the Emperor would definitely not be able to come to support him for the time being, so the lunatic could fight without any worries. Little lunatic, take down that bitch and go home to beat your concubine. The white-eyed wolf shouted. You are courting death. Princess Moon Fairy's eyes flashed coldly. At the same time, when Dong Hanzong heard the white-eyed wolf's words, he could not help but clench his fists. Princess Moon Fairy could only be his woman. Qin Feiyang, do you dare to fight? He looked at Qin Feiyang and shouted. The white-eyed wolf, he did not dare to challenge him. Because the white-eyed wolf's battle soul restrained his universe domain. Ancestor Devil, Mu Tianyang, Lin Yi, and Dong Zhengyang. In his eyes, they were not as good as Qin Feiyang, the lunatic, and the white-eyed wolf. Therefore, he felt that there was no sense of accomplishment in defeating these people. Therefore, only Qin Feiyang was left. Qin Feiyang had 3,000 incarnations, the law of life and death, and dual ultimate meaning. He was the backbone of this group of people. More importantly, he had already suffered several losses in the hands of Qin Feiyang. Therefore, he wanted revenge. In front of everyone, he wanted to trample Qin Feiyang under his feet and prove that he was the world's most monstrous genius. Yes. With the universe domain, he did not want to lose to anyone. What's more, the Moon Fairy Princess was here now. This was a good opportunity to perform. As long as he could defeat Qin Feiyang in front of the Moon Fairy Princess, the Moon Fairy Princess would definitely look at him with new eyes. But, in the face of his provocation, Qin Feiyang directly ignored it. The way he looked at Dong Hanzong was also very strange. Do you think I'm stupid? If someone can restrain your universe domain, why would I waste my effort? You want to fight one-on-one, right? Come on, this brother will accompany you. If you have the ability, come out of the death domain. The white-eyed wolf's eyes turned, took a step forward, and stared at Dong Hanzong with a smile. Dong Hanzong's expression stiffened. Originally, he wanted to perform well in front of the Moon Fairy Princess, but now, the white-eyed wolf took the initiative to challenge him, making it difficult for him to back down. Because if he did not dare to accept the white-eyed wolf's challenge now, the Moon Fairy Princess might despise him in her heart. Dong Hanzong, I advise you not to play tricks in front of us. We can see what you're thinking in your heart with a single glance. You want to perform well in front of the Moon Fairy Princess, hoping to be appreciated and loved by this woman. But do you think we'll be kind enough to give you this chance? The white-eyed wolf secretly transmitted his voice, his tone was full of ridicule. Dong Hanzong clenched his fists. The anger in his heart was burning crazily. I'm sending you a message secretly, not letting the Moon Fairy Princess know what you're thinking. I'm already giving you enough face. So, I advise you not to embarrass yourself again. Of course. If you're willing to follow us, then it's a different story. We'll definitely help you get this woman. The white-eyed wolf secretly laughed. Dong Hanzong's eyes slightly narrowed. He did not expect these people to have such a plan. They actually wanted him to submit to them. Don't worry, you can think about it slowly. The white-eyed wolf secretly laughed. He did not expect Dong Hanzong to submit to them. The reason why he said this was purely to destroy Dong Hanzong's mentality. Boom. Crack. The battle between the lunatic and the moon fairy princess had reached its climax. The lunatic naturally would not be merciful. No matter how many lives were affected, it had nothing to do with him. The moon fairy princess was the same at this moment. She completely ignored those innocent lives and attacked with all her might. The fluctuations of the battle swept out in all directions like a tide. The mountains and rivers shattered and the earth collapsed. To the living beings in this area, this was a catastrophe. They had already started to escape from this place. However, there were only a few living beings who had the space-time laws and space-time teleportation divine artifacts. Most of them could only rely on teleportation to escape. In the end, without exception, they were all drowned by the fluctuations. Accompanied by desperate screams, they died on the spot. Is this all the power of the origin source can do? The lunatic was completely arrogant. No. Indeed, he was a little too complacent now. Of course. It was not his fault. Because all these years in the Divine Kingdom, they had been suppressed by the origin source of the Divine Kingdom. Now, it was not easy to find an opportunity to counter the origin source. Naturally, they would feel proud and elated. The lunatic was proud, but the moon fairy princess was in trouble. The current origin source was really no match for the all-evil sword. Wisps of origin source were constantly being annihilated. But at the same time, the aura of the all-evil sword was also slowly weakening. After all, it was not a one-sided situation. If it was a one-sided battle, the all-evil sword would definitely not be damaged. But now, although the all-evil sword could counter the origin source, the difference was actually not that big. In such a situation where they were almost evenly matched, it was naturally a self-inflicted loss. In short, while the all-evil sword was crushing the origin source was also gradually destroying the all-evil sword. Chapter 45:13. The battle lasted for several hundred breaths. Finally, the last strand of origin energy was destroyed. Princess Yuxian's face turned pale. It wasn't because she was injured. She had been controlling her origin energy to fight against the all-evil sword. Her origin energy wasn't a god technique, nor was it a law profound. Thus, even if it was destroyed, she wouldn't suffer a backlash. Her face turned pale because her origin energy was destroyed by the madman, causing her to lose a powerful technique. Because facing Qin Feiyang and the others, only her origin energy could suppress them. Your Highness, let's go. Dong Hanzong transmitted. The destruction of his source energy made him want to retreat immediately. Go. Princess Yuxian's eyes flashed coldly. Although her origin energy was destroyed, she still had the death domain. The death domain had absolute defense. With the current all-evil sword, it was impossible to break it because the current all-evil sword was already at the end of its tether. The remaining lethality was probably less than 1% of its previous strength. Looking at Princess Yuxian's attitude, Dong Hanzong frowned. I know you're not willing. But one must adapt to the circumstances. Now that you've lost your origin energy, what's the point of fighting? At this time, anyone who was smart enough would take advantage of the death domain to escape. Otherwise, when the other party breaks your death domain, wouldn't you become a lamb waiting to be slaughtered and lose your life? Clang. As expected. The madman's next target was the death domain. The all-evil sword left his hand and slashed at the death domain. Just as Princess Yuxian expected, with the current state of the all-evil sword, it was unable to shake the death domain. Even if the all-evil sword still contained the will of the heavenly Tao, facing the death domain, it felt like an egg smashing against a rock. We must break the death domain. The white-eyed wolf muttered. If the death domain wasn't broken, it wouldn't be able to deal with Dong Hanzong. If it couldn't deal with Dong Hanzong's sealed God domain would seal their law force. It could be said that there was nothing more frustrating than having your law force sealed. Because you couldn't display your strength. Madman rolled his eyes and stared at Dong Hanzong, who was standing beside Princess Yuxian. He said angrily, "My good grandson, don't keep hiding behind a woman. Aren't you afraid of being laughed at?" Goading. This was because Dong Hanzong was a very prideful person. If he was provoked like this, he might fly into a rage out of humiliation and run out of the death domain himself. "What did you call me?" "True enough." Dong Hanzong angrily glared at the madman. "Didn't we have a bet in the Myriad Demons Valley? As long as I succeed in my tribulation, you will be my grandson. Hurry up. Call me grandpa first. Let me hear it." Madman snickered. Hearing this, Dong Hanzong's eyes spat fire as he clenched his fists tightly. "As a man, you have to keep your word. But to be honest, I don't want a grandson like you. Look at you. You're a man of indomitable spirit, yet you've been hiding behind a woman all this time." Madman shook his head with a look of disdain. Facing the continuous humiliation and mockery, Dong Hanzong's heart was about to go crazy. Madman sighed and looked at the Moon Fairy Princess. He shook his head and said, "I'm afraid you didn't expect that the leader of the 5 great geniuses of the Central Dynasty would be so cowardly." The Moon Fairy Princess turned a deaf ear. But if one looked closely, they would notice that there was a trace of disdain in her eyes. Dong Hanzong had been observing the Moon Fairy Princess's expression the moment the madman finished speaking. So, he clearly caught the trace of disdain in the Moon Fairy Princess's eyes. His heart suddenly skipped a beat. He couldn't cower like this anymore. Because if this continued, not to mention winning the Moon Fairy Princess's heart, he might even cause her to dislike him. He couldn't allow this to happen. He had to bravely stand out and stand in front of the Moon Fairy Princess. Only then would he be able to gain her appreciation. "Yes. I have nothing to be afraid of. Anyway, before coming here, I already split my divine soul to save my life. Even if I die, I will die with dignity." Dong Hanzong clenched his fists and stepped out of the death domain, landing in front of Qin Feiyang and the others. This scene caused Qin Feiyang and the others to be rather astonished. He actually walked out by himself? It seemed that this person cared more about his face than they thought. Dong Hanzong stared at Qin Feiyang and the madman and shouted, "You too, if you have the ability, then fight me one-on-one. If you don't dare, then you can take turns." The lethality of the all-evil sword had greatly decreased, so he was no longer afraid. He had full confidence in one-on-one. "Take turns? My good grandson, I really thought that you had picked up your self-esteem and wanted to fight with us. But I didn't expect you to be so cowardly. If I were you, I would definitely say, come, all of you come together. Take turns? This is really embarrassing. It's a complete lack of confidence." The madman laughed. Dong Hanzong was going crazy. "If I don't come out, you have something to say. Now that I took the initiative to come out, you have something to say." Wasn't she clearly trying to embarrass him in front of the Moon Fairy Princess? He gritted his teeth and shouted, "Fine, the two of you can come together." Qin Feiyang and the madman looked at each other and laughed. The madman looked at Dong Hanzong and continued, "You still don't have confidence. You can't say, 'Let the two of us come together.' You should say, 'Let all of us come together.' Only then will you be able to gain the princess appreciation. Have you had enough?" Dong Hanzong roared. Was there any point in humiliating and mocking him? "You're still angry? Grandpa is educating you, understand? A man must have ambition and backbone. Otherwise, how can you become the son-in-law of the emperor? The emperor will not approve of a coward like you. The madman bared his teeth. Hearing this, the moon fairy princess frowned and looked at Dong Hanzong. This person actually had such thoughts. Dong Hanzong was so angry that he was about to vomit blood. This kind of thing was actually said in front of the moon fairy princess? Wasn't this equivalent to pushing him into a very awkward situation? Because it had always been his wishful thinking. Now, he didn't have the courage to directly express his feelings to the moon fairy princess. But he didn't expect. Now, the madman actually broke through this layer of window paper. How could he endure this? Since you're the little madman's grandson, then you're naturally my grandson. Good grandson. Now, Grandpa will teach you how to be a domineering man. The white-eyed wolf laughed. Roar. The heaven-devouring battle soul appeared. This world was immediately shrouded by a monstrous divine aura. The sealed god domain could seal strength, divine force, and the power of the law, but it couldn't seal a battle soul. As long as the white-eyed wolf's battle soul appeared, the universal domain would be declared over. Chapter 45:14. Seeing the appearance of the battle soul heaven-swallowing beast, Dong Hanzong's face couldn't help but turn pale. The reason why he had been avoiding the white-eyed wolf was because the white-eyed wolf's battle soul could restrain his domain. Although Qin Feiyang's Eye of Heaven could also replicate the universe domain, restraining and replicating were two completely different concepts. Replication was equivalent to two people having the same means, and it was hard to tell who was better. Someone might say, didn't Qin Feiyang have the law of life and death, dual will of heaven, and 3,000 incarnations? If he replicated Dong Hanzong's domain, he would definitely be stronger than Dong Hanzong. Because Dong Hanzong didn't have the law of life and death. But one had to know. The law of life and death and dual will of heaven were unable to break the invincible body. As long as one couldn't break the invincible body, even if one's means were better than the opponent, they wouldn't be able to defeat the opponent. In short, the invincible body was a key factor. What is domineering? Crushing the opponent, easily crushing the opponent's proud means, making them unable to fight back, falling into the abyss of despair step by step, causing them to lose their courage, this is domineering. The white-eyed wolf smiled proudly. As his voice fell, the heaven-swallowing beast opened its mouth. No, immediately. Accompanied by Dong Hanzong's desperate cry, the universe domain quickly left and flew towards the battle soul's mouth. He was already trying his best to stop and control the domain. But it was useless. The battle soul heaven-swallowing beast's bloody mouth was like a dark bottomless abyss that could swallow everything. No. It wasn't easy for me to stand up and face you bravely, you can't trample on my dignity like this. Dong Hanzong roared in his heart. At least give him some time to perform. Just like that, he broke his universe domain and made him lose his strongest means. Moreover, it was effortless. In comparison, he was like a piece of trash, unable to withstand a single blow. Princess Yuxian would definitely be disappointed in him if she saw this scene. I never had any hope for you, so why would I be disappointed? The white-eyed wolf looked at Dong Hanzong and laughed mockingly, then looked at Princess Yuxian and laughed. Your Highness, what brother said is right. Dong Hanzong glanced at Princess Yuxian. Princess Yuxian's face was cold, without any obvious expression. However, Dong Hanzong's sharp senses caught a trace of mockery in Princess Moon Fairy's eyes. It was as if they were mocking him. No, this is not what I want, this is completely different from what I expected. Dong Hanzong was hysterical, and his heart was in a state of extreme madness. Boom! The ultimate mysteries of the 7 supreme laws were activated. The will of the heavenly Tao erupted and charged toward the white-eyed wolf. You unfilial grandson, how dare you try to kill your grandfather? It seems that if I don't teach you a lesson today, you won't know what filial piety is. As soon as the white-eyed wolf finished speaking, the war soul heaven-devouring beast opened its mouth once again. The 7 Daos of Yuan, which contained the will of the heavenly Tao, was swallowed in one gulp. There were no waves at all. Dong Hanzong's face paled. It could devour domains and ultimate profound skills. How heaven-defying was this fighting soul? Hey! The white-eyed wolf suddenly grinned. Beneath his feet, a time array suddenly appeared. Qin Feiyang and the others looked at him suspiciously. Why did this guy suddenly activate the time array? But the next moment, they understood the white-eyed wolf's purpose. Third innate ability, activate. The white-eyed wolf laughed. Third innate ability, deprive. And it was a permanent deprivation. This innate ability was enough to make any living being despair. Especially those who had mastered the will of the heavenly Tao. Because once the laws were deprived, not only would they lose the laws, but they would also lose the will of the heavenly Tao. It was equivalent to falling from heaven to hell in an instant. Damn it, don't go too far. Dong Hanzong was terrified to the extreme. Even when facing Dong Qingyuan, even when facing the emperor, he had never felt such fear. This fear only existed when facing the white-eyed wolf. Not only was it fear, but there was also a deep sense of powerlessness. This was because all of his heaven-defying abilities had been completely restrained. Yes, yes, yes. Only by making the other party feel fear and despair can it be worthy of the word domineering. For example, the current you. The white-eyed wolf laughed wildly. In his heart, he was also secretly happy. Because of the time array, the speed of depriving the laws was indeed faster than before. At that moment, the third innate ability displayed a heaven-defying power. The laws in Dong Hanzong's body emerged uncontrollably. If this was deprived, even if he split his divine soul in advance, it would be useless. After rebirth, he would still lose these laws. In a moment of imminent peril. He really had a thought. Self-destruction. That's right. At present, he could only self-destruct to get the laws. Want to self-destruct? Last time in the 4 continents, and later in Hanzong City, you have already escaped one disaster after another. Do you think this time, we will still give you the chance? A hint of contempt flashed in the white-eyed wolf's eyes. The next moment, golden wings appeared. The golden wings spread, and the will of the heavenly Tao was activated. Almost in an instant, he landed in front of Dong Hanzong and aimed a palm at Dong Hanzong's lower abdomen. Ah, there was a scream. Dong Hanzong's sea of qi exploded on the spot, and blood gushed out of his mouth. Your Highness, save me. At this moment, Dong Hanzong felt an aura of death that he had never felt before. It was as if the god of death was standing above his head. His whole body was cold, his soul was frightened, and he was desperate to the extreme. Princess Yuxian looked at Dong Hanzong, her expression was still as indifferent as before. That attitude, it was as if she didn't care about Dong Hanzong's life or death. However, when her gaze fell on the white-eyed wolf, a hint of killing intent suddenly flashed in her eyes. Clang! Accompanied by a deafening loud sound, a fiery red thin sword appeared. The thin sword was about 3 feet long, 2 fingers wide, thin like a cicada's wing, and the shape of the sword hilt was like a soaring phoenix. Phoenix sword. This was Princess Yuxian's sovereign weapon. When the sword appeared, its sharpness swept in all directions. This is, legendary-level sovereign weapon, Qin Feiyang and the others' eyes trembled. Because the sharpness emitted by this phoenix sword was almost on par with the Emperor sword. They really didn't expect. This woman actually had a legendary-level sovereign weapon in her hands. As expected of the Emperor's beloved daughter, the granddaughter of the Divine Kingdom's sovereign. Origin Force, Death Domain, legendary-level sovereign weapon, perhaps only the Emperor and Princess Yuxian's granddaughter could enjoy such treatment. Clang! The phoenix sword tore through the sky and attacked the white-eyed wolf's battle soul. Boom! The heaven-swallowing beast's battle soul was annihilated on the spot. The white-eyed wolf's body shook, and a trace of golden blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. This made the white-eyed wolf extremely angry. Interesting. This woman must be captured. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. 3,000 incarnations were activated, and the life and death laws ultimate profound, as well as the 7 ultimate profound laws, roared out with monstrous divine might. Legendary level sovereign weapon, it was equivalent to 10,000 low-level sovereign weapons. This kind of lethality was also extremely terrifying. But facing Qin Feiyang's 3,000 incarnations, 8 ultimate profound laws, and dual will of heaven, it was far from enough. Ignoring the quality, just the quantity. The number of ultimate profound laws activated by the 3,000 incarnations had far exceeded 10,000. Boom! As Qin Feiyang waved his hand, 24,000 ultimate profound laws surged out like a torrent. Crack! With a loud sound, the phoenix sword shattered. The sovereign weapon's artifact spirit sensed the danger and hurriedly carried the battered Dong Hanzong back to the Princess Yuxian's side. With the protection of the death domain, the artifact spirit felt more at ease. Dong Hanzong looked at the Princess Yuxian's side profile and felt extremely ashamed. He originally wanted to show off and perform well, but he didn't expect to end up in such a sorry state. Most importantly, the Princess Yuxian didn't even look at him. It was as if he was a pile of air. For a moment, anger, grievance, and hatred crazily surged in his heart. This was his hatred for the white-eyed wolf. Because the white-eyed wolf had made him lose face in front of the Princess Yuxian. Your Highness, you must leave. Otherwise, there might be big trouble. A voice sounded in the Princess Yuxian's mind. It was the voice of the Phoenix Sword. The universe domain had been devoured. Dong Hanzong couldn't activate it again before dawn. The origin power had also been destroyed. In other words, they were only left with the death domain. If the death domain was destroyed again, it would definitely be a disaster. Swish. However, the Princess Yuxian didn't respond. The demon ancestor, Mu Tianyang, Sea Lion Monster King, the White-Eyed Wolf, the Madman, and Long Chen stepped out one after another, surrounding the Princess Yuxian and Dong Hanzong. Lin Yi didn't move. She had been standing beside Qin Feiyang. After all, she hadn't mastered the will of heavenly Tao yet. Facing people like the Princess Yuxian and Dong Hanzong, she still couldn't hold her own. Don't you think it's funny? Originally, it was you who came to encircle us, but now it's us who encircled you. The white-eyed wolf smirked. If you have the ability, break the death domain. The Princess Yuxian smiled coldly. The madman's sword of all evil no longer had its previous lethality, so she had absolute confidence that even if these people joined forces, they couldn't break the absolute defense of the death domain. This was because the ruler of her grandfather's divine kingdom had used the supreme profundities of the laws of death to create this domain of death to protect her. This kind of profound meaning had far surpassed the ultimate profound meaning. All right. Let's see how heaven-defying this death domain is. Little Qin Zi, destroy it for me with all your strength. Although the white-eyed wolf had witnessed the power of the death domain with his own eyes, he just didn't want to believe it. Boom! The ultimate profound meaning of the 7 strongest laws appeared. This was copied for Qin Feiyang. He still had self-awareness. With his 7 ultimate profound meanings, it was impossible to shake the death domain. Now, the only hope was Qin Feiyang's Eye of Heaven. Long Chen, demon ancestor, Mu Tianyang, Sea Lion Monster King, and the madman looked at each other and also activated their ultimate profound meaning. Sea Lion Monster King and the madman now both mastered 7 ultimate profound meanings. Although it was only 2 more than before, when the 3,000 clones were copied, it would be 6,000 more. 6,000 ultimate profound meanings of the strongest laws. This number could also be called terrifying. Chapter 45:15. Your Highness, seeing this situation, Dong Hanzong instinctively wanted to persuade Princess Yuxian to escape. Although the death domain was very strong, the people they were facing now were not ordinary people. Qin Feiyang, demon ancestor, Mu Tianyang, frenzy, white-eyed wolf, Long Chen, which one of them did not have heaven-defying means? It was no exaggeration to say that. With the strength of these people now, any one of them could destroy a continent. But, thinking of his previous embarrassing actions, he took back the words that were about to come out of his mouth. He could not continue to be so weak, otherwise Princess Yuxian would definitely look down on him even more. In other words, he still had a glimmer of hope in his heart. But he did not know that Princess Yuxian did not have a good impression of him even in the past, let alone now that she had seen his weak and incompetent side with her own eyes. Accompanied by a series of dragon roars. The 3,000 incarnations of the Eye of Heaven opened at the same time. Beneath his feet, a time array appeared. The 3,000 clones stood in the time array like gods, striking fear into the hearts of those who saw them. Swish! Suddenly, Long Qin and Mu Qin also appeared beside Qin Feiyang. Dong Qin did not appear. Because now, there was no need for Dong Qin to show up for the time being. The matter of Dong Qin submitting to Qin Feiyang, when necessary, indeed had to be kept a secret. After all, this matter had too many implications. If the emperor knew that Dong Qin had submitted to Qin Feiyang, Dong Qin's family would definitely suffer. Qin Feiyang naturally did not care too much about Dong Qin's family. But now, since Dong Qin had already followed him, of course, he had to consider for Dong Qin. As soon as Long Qin and Mu Qin appeared, they immediately activated their ultimate profound meaning. And now, she had also mastered 7 ultimate profound meanings of the strongest law. Qin Feiyang, 8. Long Qin, frenzy, white-eyed wolf, demon king sea lion, 7 each. Long Chen, Mu Tianyang, Dong Zhengyang, demon ancestor, Mu Qin, 6 Dao. Altogether, they had 66 ultimate profound meanings. After the 3,000 clones activated and duplicated, they had a total of 198,000 ultimate profound meanings. He was 2,000 ultimate profound meanings away from 200,000. Furthermore, they all contained the will of the heavenly Tao. It was even more terrifying than the 120,000 ultimate mysteries from before. Furthermore, although the mad scientist's sword of 10,000 evil was much weaker, it was still not to be underestimated. Close to 200,000 ultimate intents hovered in the air, exuding an apocalyptic aura. When Dong Hanzong saw this scene, he was unable to control the fear in his heart. His whole body was trembling. Your Highness. The Phoenix Sword was very anxious. Don't worry. This is the death domain formed from the supreme profundity of the laws of death. No one can break it. Princess Moon Fairy clenched her fists. To be honest, she was also a little nervous. But her pride did not allow her to run away. Because she was the daughter of the emperor, the granddaughter of the divine kingdom's ruler, and the princess of the central dynasty. She represented the entire Dong family, the imperial power, and the dignity of all the people. If she ran away here, the entire central dynasty would be shamed because of her cowardice. As a princess, she was born with wealth and glory, but at the same time, she also had to bear responsibilities that others did not have. Kill! The 3,000 clones roared in unison, their killing intent soaring to the heavens. Along with the roar, close to 200,000 ultimate intents suddenly charged toward the death domain. Although there were not 200,000 ultimate intents, their lethality had already surpassed 200,000 ultimate intents. Because Qin Feiyang's ultimate intents had 2 wills of the heavenly Tao. Moreover, the lethality of the life and death ultimate intents far surpassed the strongest ultimate intents. Looking at this scene, Dong Hanzong and the Phoenix Sword's hearts were in their throats. They were extremely nervous. It's impossible to break the death domain. Grandfather personally said that although the ultimate intents evolved from the supreme profundity cannot compare to the origin power of the divine kingdom, the difference is not much. The Moon Fairy Princess muttered. However, her tightly clenched fists and serious expression were enough to show the uneasiness in her heart at this moment. In the blink of an eye. Rumble. The ultimate intense attacked. A wave of destructive energy suddenly surged out like a volcanic eruption. This world immediately fell into an apocalyptic state. Mountains and rivers were annihilated, and the sky collapsed. The void within a radius of a few 100 million miles instantly turned into chaos, as if the world had just been created. It was also at this moment that it was unknown how many living beings had died under this wave of energy. Not even a drop of blood was left. It was as if they had evaporated into thin air. At the center of the battlefield, the Death Domain protected the Moon Fairy Princess, Dong Hanzong, and the Phoenix Sword. Qin Feiyang and the others all stared fixedly at the Death Domain. The Death Domain gradually began to distort and change shape. This scene. Qin Feiyang and the others couldn't help but feel shocked. Since the Death Domain was distorting and changing shape, it meant that these ultimate intents were enough to shake the Death Domain. Dong Hanzong also stared at the Death Domain. Looking at the constantly distorting Death Domain, he was about to collapse. Although all the ultimate intents were blocked outside the Death Domain, he could still clearly feel the terrifying destructive power through the Death Domain. Once the Death Domain was broken, they would all be buried here. It will definitely work, the Moon Fairy Princess murmured. Unknowingly, her hands were already bleeding. This was because she used too much strength in her hands, and her nails pierced the flesh of her palms. However, she was completely unaware. Gradually, the waves subsided. The distorting Death Domain also slowly calmed down. This, Qin Feiyang and the others were immediately dumbfounded. Nearly 200,000 ultimate intents of the ultimate intents of the ultimate intents couldn't break the Death Domain? What the hell? What exactly was this thing? Wasn't he too ridiculously powerful? No way. It really blocked it? Dong Hanzong was also stunned. His face was full of disbelief. He knew nothing about the Death Domain. It felt similar to the Origin power. Although it didn't have any destructive power, its defensive power was really terrifying. When he came back to his senses, Dong Hanzong couldn't help but laugh. The Moon Fairy Princess also secretly breathed a sigh of relief, and her face was once again brimming with a confident smile. You can't even break the Death Domain, and you still want to go against the entire Central Dynasty? You idiots, you really know how to daydream. Dong Hanzong laughed proudly. It was as if he was the master of the Death Domain. Stupid, the demon ancestor murmured, looking at Dong Hanzong. A trace of displeasure flashed in his eyes, and said, "Say it again." Not convinced? If you are smart, why would you have such a ridiculous idea? How can our Central Dynasty be shaken by trash from a low-level civilization like you? Dong Hanzong laughed wildly. In the eyes of these creatures from the Central Dynasty, the Sky Cloud Realm was a lowly low-level civilization, and it couldn't be compared to their divine kingdom. Low-level civilization, trash. The demon ancestor took a deep breath and laughed. In that case, I will let you experience how terrifying we low-level civilization trash are. 3,000 clones, open. Boom. Following the demon ancestor's roar, 3,000 identical clones instantly appeared behind the demon ancestor. What? You also have 3,000 clones? Who are you to Qin Feiyang? Dong Hanzong's expression changed abruptly. The Moon Fairy Princess's eyes couldn't help but shrink. Qin Feiyang and I? If you want to explain, it might be a little complicated. In fact, he is my junior, because his ancestor, Qin Batian, and I were brothers who went through fire and water together. As for the 3,000 clones, this might be the so-called coincidence of fate. The demon ancestor smiled faintly, looking at the 3,000 clones behind him, and said, "Come, give them a fatal blow." Boom. The 3,000 clones immediately activated their ultimate mysteries. The demon ancestor had mastered 6 ultimate mysteries, and after the 3,000 clones activated, he had a total of 18,000 ultimate mysteries. At the same time, White-Eyed Wolf, Frenzy, Long Chen, Long Qin, Sea Lion Demon King, Dong Zhengyang, Mu Qing, and Mu Tianyang all activated their ultimate mysteries again. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly, and the 3,000 clones cloned again. See if you can copy the ultimate mysteries activated by my 3,000 clones. The demon ancestor transmitted his voice. Qin Feiyang turned to look at the demon ancestor. Let his 3,000 clones copy the ultimate mysteries activated by the demon ancestor's 3,000 clones? He had never thought of this before. Could it be copied? If it could be copied, one of his clones could copy 18,000 ultimate mysteries. 10 clones would be 108,000 ultimate mysteries. 100. 1,000, even 3,000 clones, how many could he copy in the end? After calculating, it should be 54 million ultimate mysteries. This number directly stunned Qin Feiyang. 54 million ultimate mysteries, and all of them contained the will of the heavenly Tao. Perhaps even the origin force of the divine kingdom could be easily destroyed. Thinking about it, Qin Feiyang's heart burned. He immediately looked at the 3,000 clones and shouted, "Quickly try to copy the ultimate mysteries activated by the demon ancestor's 3,000 clones." When Frenzy and the others heard this, they also looked at Qin Feiyang in shock. Copy the ultimate mysteries activated by the demon ancestor's 3,000 clones? Was this fellow sure he wasn't joking? It was hard to imagine how terrifying the scene would be if he succeeded in copying it. He must be crazy. He and the demon ancestor both have 3,000 clones. How can they copy each other's ultimate mysteries? Hearing Qin Feiyang shout, Dong Hanzong's eyelids couldn't help but twitch. Don't be nervous. They definitely can't do such a ridiculous thing. Because this kind of thing is already against the heavens. Princess Moon Fairy shook her head. If they dared to do this, the heavens wouldn't allow it. However, she was still quite nervous in her heart. Because she also knew what kind of situation the Central Dynasty would face in the future if Qin Feiyang's 3,000 clones were successfully copied with the Eye of Heaven. At that time, Qin Feiyang would be truly invincible. Even the origin force couldn't suppress him. It can work, it definitely can work. After the White-Eyed Wolf and the others calmed down, they couldn't help but look forward to it excitedly. Especially the White-Eyed Wolf and Frenzy. As good brothers who had gone through fire and water together, they naturally hoped that Qin Feiyang could succeed. Chapter 45:17. Everyone was nervously looking forward to it. Of course. For Dong Hanzong and Princess Yuxian, they were definitely not looking forward to it. Because once Qin Feiyang successfully replicated it, the calamity of the Central Dynasty would descend. After all, the strongest person in the Divine Kingdom, the ruler of the Divine Kingdom, wasn't in the Divine Kingdom. Who could suppress Qin Feiyang? Roar! 3,000 purple gold dragon souls floated in the air, releasing a monstrous dragon aura. The Eye of Heaven was like a bright moon, flickering with divine light. However, facing the ultimate meaning of the ancestor demon's 3,000 incarnations, it still couldn't replicate it. What's going on? Could it be that it can't be replicated? The White-Eyed Wolf and Frenzy gradually frowned. If it could be replicated, it should have replicated some of the ultimate meaning long ago. But now, so much time had passed, and not even one of the ultimate meaning was replicated. Impossible. The Eye of Heaven, apart from physical objects, is said to be able to replicate everything. Mu Tianyang muttered. The so-called physical objects referred to things like divine artifacts. But the ultimate meaning wasn't physical. It was no different from the ultimate meaning that was replicated in the past battles. But why couldn't it be replicated? Qin Feiyang's face was also filled with disbelief. He was looking forward to replicating it, but the result was that it couldn't be replicated. Was it really because it was too heaven-defying that even the heavens didn't allow it? Another moment passed. In the end, Not even one of the ultimate meaning was replicated. This confirmed that it couldn't be replicated. As expected. You guys are just wishful thinking. Dong Hanzong laughed. The ridicule between his eyebrows was undisguised. Qin Feiyang and the others looked at Dong Hanzong, their eyes flashing coldly. A person who only dares to hide behind a woman, what's there to be arrogant about? The white-eyed wolf sneered. You. Dong Hanzong immediately gnashed his teeth in anger. What? Did I touch your sore spot and make you feel uncomfortable? The white-eyed wolf sneered. What are you so proud of? As long as Qin Feiyang's Eye of Heaven is unable to replicate the ultimate profundity of the ancestral devil's 3,000 avatars, you will not be able to break through the death domain. Even if we stand here and let you kill us, you don't have the ability to do so. Scram as soon as possible, don't make a fool of yourself here. Dong Hanzong retorted. What a joke. Is this your death domain? What does it have to do with you? Stop being so cocky. Do you really think you're someone important? Do you know how to spell the word clown? If you don't know, I'll teach you. Wasn't this just asking for a scolding? Since you don't have the ability, just stay at the side and don't talk. No one will treat you as a mute. Dong Hanzong clenched his fists. The words clown were like steel needles that pierced into his heart. He had been proud and unyielding all his life, and what he couldn't stand the most was others looking down on him. I can see that under your insufferably arrogant appearance, there's actually a heart of inferiority. When others say something, you feel that they are humiliating and mocking you. A person like you is really pitiful. But there's nothing you can do about it. Who asked you to be born in a lowly family? You were born with the lowest status, so you desperately tried to prove yourself and desperately climbed up. In order to get the respect of others, in order to get the status and power you want, in order to satisfy your ambitions and desires, you will do anything, regardless of the means. However, it's useless. No matter how hard you work, no matter how high your status is, no matter how strong you are, you will never be able to change your lowly fate. The white-eyed wolf's words could be said to be ruthless. It was tantamount to directly tearing open Dong Hanzong's scars. Every word was a gem. Dong Hanzong instantly entered a state of rage. You haven't experienced the setbacks I've experienced, nor have you suffered the pain I've suffered. What qualifications do you have to criticize me and boast shamelessly here? Dong Hanzong roared. His entire person instantly rushed out of the death domain. The 7 ultimate laws were activated, and like a mad beast, he madly pounced on the white-eyed wolf. Don't think too highly of yourself. In terms of setbacks and pain, none of us are less than you. The white-eyed wolf took a step forward, and the 7 ultimate laws were activated. Boom! In an instant. The 14 ultimate laws collided with a loud bang, erupting with a monstrous divine power that annihilated all directions. I'm going to tear you apart. Dong Hanzong roared in anger. He was like a mad beast. His eyes were blood red. Because every sentence that the white-eyed wolf said before had hit his sore spot. It made his heart almost collapse. He violently stretched out his hands. His blood-stained hands were like the devil's claws, grabbing at the white-eyed wolf's head. If it were others, you would definitely have the ability to tear them apart, but in front of me, you don't have the ability. The white-eyed wolf's face was full of contempt. With a spread of his golden wings, his speed suddenly soared. In just an instant, he calmly avoided Dong Hanzong and appeared behind him. Without the universe domain, what are you? What's the difference between you and an ordinary will of heaven? No. Even if you can activate your universe domain now, in front of me, it's still too weak to withstand a single blow. I'm the bane of your life, the nightmare of your life. The white-eyed wolf laughed loudly. He slapped at Dong Hanzong's back. With a painful scream, Dong Hanzong immediately smashed into the ground below like a meteorite, and his chi was shattered on the spot. Look, who can save you now? The white-eyed wolf laughed cruelly. He swooped down like a bolt of lightning, disappearing into the dust below. Dong Hanzong's Qi Si was destroyed, and he had lost all his cultivation. Even if he wanted to self-destruct now, he couldn't do it. Previously, Princess Yuxian used the Phoenix Sword to save Dong Hanzong, but now, the Phoenix Sword was severely damaged, and its origin force was destroyed, so Princess Yuxian no longer had the ability to save Dong Hanzong. In other words, the current Dong Hanzong was equivalent to a dead dog waiting to die. Whoosh! Very soon, the white-eyed wolf rushed out from the dust again. In his hand was a blood-stained corpse. It was Dong Hanzong. However, the white-eyed wolf's face was extremely ugly at this moment. Qin Feiyang looked at the white-eyed wolf's expression, and then looked at Dong Hanzong who was in his hand. There was no breath left. In other words, now, this was a worthless corpse. What happened? Long Qin frowned. This bastard, he destroyed his own divine soul. The white-eyed wolf was annoyed. He thought that Dong Hanzong had completely lost his mind and was going to risk his life with him, but he didn't expect that he was actually playing a trick on him. With his divine soul destroyed, even if he obtained Dong Hanzong's corpse, it would be meaningless. Because he couldn't control it. He couldn't deprive him of his ultimate meaning. Bastard, you are really getting luckier each time. The white-eyed wolf roared, and the power of law surged out, directly shattering Dong Hanzong's corpse. He then looked up at Princess Yuxian and laughed cruelly. This is your Central Dynasty's peerless genius, don't you think it's ridiculous? They are self-proclaimed. Princess Yuxian said with an expressionless face. Ugh. The white-eyed wolf was startled, and said mockingly, that means you don't really approve of them. It's not important whether I approve or not. What's important is that they are approved by the world. Princess Yuxian said faintly. There was no obvious emotion in her voice. What about you? You are the only one left, aren't you afraid? How about this, be little Chen's concubine and we will let you go. The white-eyed wolf laughed. Long Chen's mouth twitched, his face darkened. He didn't even have a wife now, how could he talk about being a concubine? Princess Yuxian's eyes turned cold, and said in a deep voice, watch your attitude. Attitude? Haha, in the eyes of the Central Dynasty's beings, you are a princess, unreachable. But in our eyes, you are no different from an ordinary woman. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. No different from an ordinary woman, Princess Yuxian murmured. He actually dared to say such words in front of her. He was truly audacious. Chapter 45:18. Because such words were already challenging the dignity of the royal family. She was a princess who was born noble and extraordinary. How could those ordinary women compare to her? Comparing her to an ordinary woman was a form of humiliation to her. Still not convinced? Look at little Qin Zi's wife, mermaid princess. Look at my brother and little Crazy's fiancé, and our little fire lotus. Which one of them is not ordinary? But they are all better than you, prettier than you, and more capable than you. Most importantly, they are kinder than you. They never feel superior and look down on others just because of their strength. The white-eyed wolf laughed disdainfully. The princess of the divine kingdom was indeed beautiful. But no matter how beautiful a woman was, what was the use if she did not have a good personality? Besides, in terms of beauty, the mermaid princess, fire dance, Zhuo Shaoxian, and fire lotus were not inferior to her. Even if it was Long Qin, she could still be on par with this woman. They are just a few women from an inferior civilization. How can they be compared to me? The moon fairy princess laughed coldly. She was not convinced in her heart. She was recognized as the most beautiful woman in the Central Dynasty. But now, she was being refuted. Inferior civilization, haha, don't always talk about inferior civilization. I think the divine kingdom is not very advanced. If we really want to talk about status, Longqin's status is not lower than yours. But what about her? I don't seem to have seen such arrogance like yours. The white-eyed wolf sneered. The moon fairy princess immediately looked at Long Qin. Why mention me for no reason? Long Qin raised her eyebrows. She did not want to argue with others, especially when the other party was a woman. It was too childish. Her status, if I tell you, I'm afraid you will be shocked. She is the princess of the dragons. She has a noble status and is born extraordinary. As for other things, I choose to keep them a secret for now. The white-eyed wolf smiled mysteriously. The identities of Long Chen and Long Qin had to be kept a secret. After all, this was the Ice Dragon's advice. Princess Dragons, Princess Moon Immortal whispered. She had no doubt about that. Ever since she saw Long Qin, she saw a unique temperament in Long Qin. This temperament was extremely similar to her temperament. He was born with pride. He was born with an air of nobility. As the princess of a clan, why are you willing to wallow in the mire with these humans? Don't you think it's embarrassing? Princess Moon Fairy stared at Long Qin and asked in confusion. What? Long Qin was stunned. Who would have thought that the Moon Fairy Princess would say something like this? Human? Are you not human? As humans, wasn't it preposterous to say that they were in cahoots with humans? He even said that it was embarrassing. Although they were of different races, they were all young people. Moreover, the other party's talent and strength were not inferior to yours. What was there to be embarrassed about? From these words, it was not difficult to see that the princess of the Central Dynasty was too proud. This reminded Long Qin of herself in the past. Wasn't she as proud as the Moon Fairy Princess in the past? If you want to ask if I hate them, I can tell you that I hate them very much. But that was in the past. In the past, my dislike for them was no less than yours now. In fact, I wanted to eat their flesh and drink their blood. Do you know why? Long Qin asked. Why? Princess Moon Fairy frowned. Because I have a grudge against them for exterminating my clan. In the past, I was like you now. I thought that I was better than others. These guys were always baring their fangs and brandishing their claws in front of me. They were arrogant and despotic. They did not put me, the Princess of Dragons, in their eyes at all. My feelings in the past were probably the same as yours now. However, as I slowly got along with them, I realized that they are actually quite cute. They are different from us. Most of us think of ourselves, which is the so-called selfishness. But they are different. They think of all the people in the world, justice, and justice. So now, not only do I not hate them, but I also admire and like them. Looking at Qin Feiyang and the others, Long Qin couldn't help but reveal a trace of a smile in her eyes. No matter how different they are, they can't make you forget the grudge of exterminating your clan. Princess Moon Fairy frowned. Of course I can't forget the grudge of exterminating my clan. But now that I think about it, who was right and who was wrong? I want to ask you, have you ever thought about this question? If the Divine Kingdom didn't invade the Sky Cloud realm, would we have come to the Divine Kingdom now? No. I'm afraid that even now, we don't know that there is a Divine Kingdom in this world. So, if you have time, you can think about it by yourself. Who was right and who was wrong in this grudge between us? Long Qin shook her head, feeling a myriad of emotions. Everyone was forced to do so. If it wasn't for the Divine Kingdom forcing them, how could they have come to this point? Princess Moon Fairy fell silent. Qin Feiyang and the others looked at Long Qin in surprise. They didn't expect Long Qin to say such words. If it were Long Chen, they wouldn't be surprised at all because he was such a man. But Long Qin's woman was unprecedented. Not to mention Qin Feiyang and the others, even Long Chen looked at his sister as if he had discovered a new continent. Because as a brother and sister, he knew the people of Long Qin the best. Although everyone was getting along well now, he knew that Long Qin hadn't completely let go of the hatred in her heart. She had just been restraining herself and trying to make herself forget. So, he had been very worried. But he never expected that Long Qin would say such unexpected words. Although surprised, he was also very happy. Because when these words came out, it meant that his sister had completely let go of the hatred in her heart and sincerely accepted Qin Feiyang and the others. Right and wrong, suddenly. The silent Princess Moon Fairy murmured. Then she looked up at Long Qin and sneered, "You're really naive. How can there be right and wrong in this world? There's only strength and power. Only when you're strong enough and have enough power can you control the life and death of others and dominate the fate of all things in the world." At the end of her words, the Princess Moon Fairy's eyes flashed coldly. Her body emitted a bone-piercing cold current. She was like a ruthless queen, making people feel a sense of reverence for her. Sigh. I really feel sorry for you. Although you have a deep foundation, a strong background, and a family background that countless people envy, these things are destroying you step by step, making you lose the sympathy and compassion that you should have. Long Qin shook her head, feeling a little regretful. Sympathy, compassion, that's something that only the weak have. I don't have it, Princess Moon Fairy said. Her cold eyes revealed a kind of ruthless coldness. Chapter 45:19. Stubborn. Long Qin shook her head. To be honest. Looking at the Moon Fairy Princess now, she seemed to be looking at herself in the past. Wasn't she the same in the past? Change needed time. It also needed a price. For example, her. The price she paid was the destruction of the entire dragons. Therefore, looking at the Moon Fairy Princess now, she really wanted to help her because she didn't want the Moon Fairy Princess to follow in her footsteps. Only when she lost all her clansmen, relatives, and friends would she know how to repent. It's not that I'm stubborn, it's that you're willing to degrade yourself. A person from a low-level civilization like you, no matter how high your status is, has no redeeming qualities. The Moon Fairy Princess mocked. Who are you saying is willing to degrade myself? Do you really think that we can't break your death domain just because we can't copy the ultimate profound meaning of the demon ancestors' 3,000 incarnations? The white-eyed wolf shouted angrily. Seeing Long Qin being mocked, he felt inexplicably unhappy. Come and try if you have the ability. The Moon Fairy Princess looked at the white-eyed wolf provocatively. A cold light flashed in the white-eyed wolf's eyes. He looked at Qin Feiyang and shouted, "Little Qin Zi, if you can't copy the ultimate profound meaning, then copy the demon ancestors' 3,000 incarnations." Copy 3,000 incarnations, Qin Feiyang's heart skipped a beat. 3,000 incarnations. It seemed that he could copy them. Because when he fought with the demon ancestor in Great Qin, he hadn't mastered all 3,000 incarnations. At that time, it was because he and the inner demons opened the eye of heaven and copied the demon ancestors' 3,000 incarnations that they defeated him. With this thought, he immediately let his 3,000 incarnations copy the demon ancestors' 3,000 incarnations. The Moon Fairy Princess looked at this scene and her pupils shrank slightly. If the demon ancestors' 3,000 incarnations were successfully copied, it would be an extremely terrifying thing. Because one of Qin Feiyang's incarnations could copy the demon ancestors' 3,000 incarnations. 10, 30,000. 100, 300,000. 1,000, 3 million. 3,000, 9 million. In other words, if Qin Feiyang's 3,000 incarnations were successfully copied, it would be enough to copy 9 million incarnations. Even if each incarnation could only activate 6 ultimate profound meanings, it would be a total of 540,000. Actually, all in all, there wasn't much difference between duplicating 3,000 clones and duplicating an ultimate intent. It was just that the method was different. However, what surprised Qin Feiyang was that his 3,000 avatars were unable to replicate the fiend ancestors' 3,000 avatars. Why is this happening? White-eyed Wolf was also in disbelief. Back in Great Qin, before the Eye of Heaven had evolved, Qin Feiyang and the inner demons had been able to use the Eye of Heaven to create the Demon Lord's 3,000 clones, so why couldn't they do it now? By right. Now that the Eye of Heaven had completed its evolution, it should be easier to replicate it. Something's not right. Suddenly, the fiend ancestor said. What's wrong? Everyone looked at him in surprise. I remember that back in Great Qin, when you made 3,000 of my clones, it was you who made the clones. The fiend ancestor looked at Qin Feiyang. I myself, Qin Feiyang muttered. The memories that had been sealed away for a long time surfaced in his mind. That was indeed the case. Back then, he had activated the Eye of Heaven and successfully duplicated the fiend ancestor's 3,000 clones. Could it be that the things between the 3,000 clones couldn't be replicated? Thinking of this, in order to verify this point, Qin Feiyang immediately activated the purple gold dragon soul. Eye of Heaven, activate. In the blink of an eye. In front of the purple gold dragon soul, there were 3,000 more clones. These 3,000 clones were exactly the same as Qin Feiyang. Successful replication, Qin Feiyang muttered. Sure enough, he needed to activate the Eye of Heaven to replicate it. How could this be? Princess Moon Fairy muttered, her eyes filled with disbelief. Such powerful 3,000 clones that were comparable to heaven-defying were actually replicated by the Eye of Heaven? It was fine if the replication was successful, but why were the 3,000 clones of the fiend ancestor exactly the same as Qin Feiyang? This was just like Qin Feiyang's 3,000 clones. Because logically speaking, replicating the fiend ancestor's 3,000 clones was equivalent to replicas, and the replicas should naturally be the same as the fiend ancestor. The Eye of Heaven replicates the divine art, replicating the divine art itself. In other words, although on the surface, I'm replicating the fiend ancestor's 3,000 clones, in reality, I'm replicating the 3,000 clones, divine art itself. Back then, when Qin Feiyang and the inner demons replicated the fiend ancestor's 3,000 clones in Great Qin, they replicated themselves and not the fiend ancestor. To put it simply, the Eye of Heaven didn't replicate the fiend ancestor's 3,000 clones, but the divine art that the fiend ancestor had mastered. By replicating the 3,000 clones, divine art that the fiend ancestor had mastered, the 3,000 clones would naturally be Qin Feiyang. Although it's a pity that the clones can't replicate each other, being able to replicate the fiend ancestor's 3,000 clones can also double my combat strength. Qin Feiyang smiled coldly. His 3,000 clones and the 3,000 clones added up to a total of 6,000 clones. Previously, the 3,000 clones replicated close to 200,000 ultimate meanings. Now, the 6,000 clones replicated close to 400,000 ultimate meanings. In addition, the fiend ancestor had already activated 3,000 clones and had a total of 18,000 ultimate meanings. In other words, now, Qin Feiyang and the others had more than 400,000 ultimate meanings. It could be said that, at this moment, Qin Feiyang's strength skyrocketed. Because as the number of clones multiplied, his life and death law ultimate meanings, as well as the 7 supreme laws ultimate meanings, would also double. Previously, close to 200,000 ultimate meanings could threaten the death domain. Now, with more than 400,000 ultimate meanings, Qin Feiyang believed that it could definitely destroy the death domain. Although the death domain was strong, it wasn't hard to see that it was still lacking compared to the power of origin. Moreover, when the madman came out of the Black Tortoise realm and absorbed all the evil energy in the Thousand Demons Valley, the lethality of the All-Demons sword was comparable to the power of origin. At that time, it had caused a fatal blow to the death domain. Although it didn't collapse, cracks had already appeared in the death domain. And these cracks weren't just one or two. It could be said that the madman's sword had greatly reduced the power of the death domain. Otherwise, with the death domain at its peak state, 200,000 ultimate meanings couldn't pose a threat to it. Although I don't want to admit it, this death domain is really strong. The fiend ancestor was filled with emotions. Yes. Previously, I had already heavily damaged the death domain, but now, even 200,000 ultimate meanings can't destroy it. However, I believe that with more than 400,000 ultimate meanings, I can definitely destroy it. The madman clenched his fists. They really couldn't understand what this domain of death had evolved from. The degree of strength was actually close to the power of origin. That's right. Although the death domain at its peak state couldn't compare to the power of origin, it was just a little bit weaker. Some people might think that it wasn't a big deal to be a little bit weaker, but this was compared to the power of origin. The power of origin of the divine kingdom was obvious to all. The death domain's power was just a little bit weaker than the power of origin. What kind of concept was this? It could be said that this death domain was equivalent to an invincible existence. Break. A calm voice sounded. That's right. At this moment, the hearts of Qin Feiyang and the others calmed down instead. As the voice sounded, all the ultimate meanings carried a monstrous might as they attacked the death domain. Boom! In an instant, the death domain collapsed. Princess Yuxian, who was standing inside, had a change in expression as her eyes revealed despair. Madman Mo, even if I turn into a ghost, I won't let you off. This was her roar when she was about to be drowned by the ultimate meanings. Because she hated it. If it wasn't for the madman's initial sword that caused serious damage to the death domain, Qin Feiyang and the others wouldn't have been able to break the death domain. Turn into a ghost? You're dreaming. Let me tell you, I won't even let you become a ghost. The madman laughed. The all-evil sword in his hand also released a monstrous sharpness as it slashed forward. Ghost, now. Could it be, she didn't split her divine soul in advance to save her life? Qin Feiyang murmured. He looked at Princess Yuxian in shock. If she left her divine soul to save her life, she definitely wouldn't say such a thing. This woman was really confident. Even someone like Dong Hanzong left his divine soul in advance to save his life, but she didn't. But thinking about it carefully, it seemed to be reasonable. With the death domain, the origin force, and the phoenix sword, even someone like Dong Hanzong who was afraid of death wouldn't leave his divine soul in advance to save his life. This was the source of her confidence. But the fact that Princess Yuxian didn't leave her divine soul to save her life was really good news for them. Because this way, Princess Yuxian was even more valuable. Leave her alive. Qin Feiyang shouted. At the same time, all of the ultimate mysteries stopped. Only the madman's all-evil sword continued to attack Princess Yuxian. One sword heavily injured her. Princess Yuxian spurted out a mouthful of blood on the spot as her body was torn apart. Even half of her divine soul was destroyed. As for the phoenix sword, only a small fragment was left. You err. But at this moment, an anxious voice sounded. Mother, Princess Yuxian's remnant soul also immediately called out weakly. Mother? Qin Feiyang and the others were shocked as they quickly raised their heads to look. They saw a white-clothed woman breaking through the air like lightning. The origin force around her roared, emitting an aura that could destroy the heavens and earth. The woman was about 30 years old. She was dressed very simply. But it still couldn't hide her shocking charm. Her skin was crystal clear, and her figure was tall like a young girl. Princess Yuxian's appearance was extremely similar to this woman. Even if you didn't know in advance, when the mother and daughter stood together, you would think that they were a pair of sisters. However, her beautiful appearance and charming figure were only secondary. The most important thing was the origin force around the woman. That origin force was like a storm, roaring around her. No one knew how much of it there was. Chapter 45-20. Seeing this origin energy, Qin Feiyang and the others couldn't remain calm. Because they all felt a fatal danger. Even if these 400,000 ultimates reached the white-clothed woman, it wouldn't be enough to fill the gaps between her teeth. How dare you hurt my daughter? The white-clothed woman's body was filled with a bone-chilling cold. In an instant, the origin energy around her turned into a giant dragon, shattering the void and the earth as it pounced towards Qin Feiyang and the others. We're not her match, let's go. Frenzy shouted. Even if he had the all-evil sword, he didn't have any confidence facing this white-clothed woman. Boom! The group waved their hands at the same time. The 400,000 ultimates that stopped in the void suddenly turned into a torrent and rushed towards the giant dragon formed by the origin energy. Following closely, Qin Feiyang activated his dual willpower of the heavenly Tao and split time. He arrived in front of Princess Yuxian's remnant soul in a single step and grabbed it in his hand. Then, he prepared to grab the Phoenix Divine Sword fragment. Although there was only a fragment left of the Phoenix Sword, the artifact spirit was still hiding in the fragment. Seeing Qin Feiyang reach out for it, it immediately turned and fled. Looking at the white-clothed woman, Qin Feiyang gritted his teeth and decisively abandoned the Phoenix Sword. He turned around and returned to the white-eyed wolf and the others. He swept up a group of people and escaped without looking back. Madam, save His Highness. The artifact spirit of the Phoenix Sword roared. The white-clothed woman's face was as calm as water. She kept the Phoenix Sword into the spatial divine item and chased after it like lightning. Boom! The giant dragon formed by the origin energy also clashed with the 400,000 ultimates. Although there were only 400,000 ultimates on the surface, in terms of lethality, it might exceed 500,000 ultimates. This was because the ultimates that Qin Feiyang's 6,000 incarnations activated had dual will of the heavenly Tao. The 6,000 ultimates of the law of life and death were even more terrifying. However, even so, in the face of the giant dragon formed from the origin energy, these ultimate mysteries were unable to resist at all. They were instantly annihilated. Seeing this scene, the hearts of Qin Feiyang and the others couldn't help but tremble. How much origin energy was there? It turned out that this imperial madam was the hidden big boss. It was too terrifying. In front of this white-robed woman, Princess Yuxian's origin energy was like a small stream in front of the sea. Let go of my daughter and I'll spare your lives. The woman said gloomily. There was also a trace of anxiousness on his face. Because Qin Feiyang grasped two wills of the heavenly Tao, she could not catch up to him with her speed. 3,000 clones, stop her. Qin Feiyang and Devil Ancestor shouted at the same time. They didn't care about the woman's words at all. Because if they really let Princess Yuxian go, they would definitely die even faster. As his voice fell, Qin Feiyang's 6,000 avatars and the Fiend Ancestor's 3,000 avatars simultaneously attacked the white-dressed woman. You're courting death. The white-robed woman was stunned. The giant dragon formed by the origin energy roared, and the 9,000 avatars did not have the slightest ability to resist and died on the spot. This woman's origin energy is probably more than the Emperor's. I didn't expect the ruler of the Divine Kingdom to trust this daughter-in-law so much. Mu Tianyang muttered. His expression was full of fear. What are you afraid of? As long as she doesn't have two wills of the heavenly Tao, she can't catch up to us. The white-eyed wolf snorted coldly. So what if the origin energy was strong? It was only useful if she could catch up to them. At this moment, they also completely realized the importance of having two wills of the heavenly Tao. Without two wills of the heavenly Tao, facing the Emperor couple, let alone fighting them, they might not even have the qualification to escape. At the same time, in the distance, the inner demons and Lu Jiajin looked at this scene and frowned. Obviously, the origin energy possessed by the Imperial Madam was giving them a headache. Lu Yuntian, Lu Yunfeng, come here immediately. Suddenly, the white-robed woman's voice sounded. Huh? The inner demons was taken aback. She knew they were hiding here. She should have sensed our aura. Lu Jiajin whispered, his eyes flashing slightly, and whispered, quickly destroy your physical body. Because previously, the inner demons had activated his fighting soul and his physical body had been rebuilt, so now, if he destroyed his physical body, the white-robed woman would definitely ask him to help chase after Qin Feiyang and the others. Okay. The inner demons nodded and suddenly slapped himself. His physical body was shattered on the spot. Following closely, their divine souls rushed toward the white-robed woman. Only divine souls are left? The white-robed woman turned to look at the two and frowned immediately. Sorry. It's all our fault for being useless. The two said with a face full of self-blame. The white-robed woman took a deep breath and looked back at Qin Feiyang and the others in front of her, and said in a deep voice, "State your conditions." Qin Feiyang was stunned, his eyes flashed slightly, and asked, "Any conditions?" In his heart, he smiled bitterly. Back then, they actually wanted to capture the emperor, this woman, and blackmail her. Who would have thought that she was the most terrifying person? Any conditions? The white-robed woman nodded. That's what you said. Give us your origin energy. Qin Feiyang said. As long as they could get the white-robed woman's origin energy, they would have the capital to contend with the emperor. They originally thought that the white-robed woman would definitely refuse. Because the origin energy was her strongest means. Once they lost the origin energy, the mother and daughter would become their prisoners. But unexpectedly, when the white-robed woman heard Qin Feiyang's words, she nodded without hesitation and said, "Okay." What? Qin Feiyang and the others looked at each other. Isn't this too refreshing? It made them feel unreal. The white-robed woman said again, "But I can only give you half." Half? Qin Feiyang frowned. "No, you must give us all." The white-eyed wolf roared. "If I give all of it to you, I'm afraid your appetite is too small and you can't handle it." The white-robed woman's eyes were gloomy. He really knew how to ask for an exorbitant price. The white-eyed wolf laughed and said, "You don't have to worry about whether I can handle it or not. If you don't agree, we will kill your daughter now." The white-robed woman's heart sank. But suddenly, her eyes flashed, and she sneered and said, "Kill her, do whatever you want." Anyway, she left her soul in the Emperor Capital Mountain. She left her soul in the Emperor Capital Mountain? Qin Feiyang was stunned and shook his head. I really didn't expect that the dignified emperor's wife would talk nonsense. What do you mean? The white-robed woman raised her eyebrows. What I mean is, you can ignore others, but if you want to ignore us, you are still a little lacking. Long before you came, I had already judged from your daughter's words that she did not leave her soul in advance to save her life. Besides, even if she did leave her soul to save her life, so what? When the white-eyed wolf deprives her of her cultivation and laws, she will survive. She will only be a cripple. Qin Feiyang sneered. The white-robed woman clenched her fists. That's right. She was bluffing Qin Feiyang and the others. Princess Yuxian did not leave her soul in the Emperor Capital Mountain in advance. It was also because of this news that she was worried that something would happen to Princess Yuxian here. That was why she immediately came out of seclusion and rushed here. But she didn't expect that she was still a step too late. Keep your word. As long as you give us all the origin energy, we will immediately let her go. Qin Feiyang said. The white-robed woman gritted her teeth and said in a deep voice, "All right, I promise you." Finished speaking. With a wave of her hand, the giant dragon formed by the origin energy immediately dissipated in the void. Its aura also gradually weakened, and no one could feel the slightest threat from it. I've really earned a lot. The white-eyed wolf's heart was burning with passion. He was about to turn around and take it. But suddenly, the devil ancestor stopped him and shook his head. Just in case, we won't go over ourselves. Let's send our incarnations over. The white-eyed wolf was stunned. He turned to look at the devil ancestor and bared his teeth. You're really considerate. If the white-robed woman was playing tricks on them and waited for the white-eyed wolf to run over and suddenly attack, wouldn't they become a bargaining chip in her hands? So he had to make sure nothing went wrong. When facing such a person, we have to be careful. The devil ancestor laughed. An incarnation appeared and flew towards the white-robed woman. The white-robed woman looked at the incarnation with a hint of anger on her face. This group of young people was more difficult to deal with than she had imagined. It seemed that she could only obediently hand over the origin energy. Very soon, the incarnation of the devil ancestor landed in front of the white-robed woman and directly stretched out his hand. The white-robed woman raised her head and looked at Qin Feiyang. You better not go back on your word. Don't worry. We always keep our word. Qin Feiyang smiled. The white-robed woman took a deep breath and waved her hand. All the origin energy immediately landed in front of the incarnation of the devil ancestor. The incarnation swept up the origin energy and turned to rush towards Qin Feiyang and the others. During this period, the white-robed woman did not play any tricks. The white-eyed wolf immediately went forward and snatched the origin energy from the incarnation. His eyes were full of radiance. With this origin energy, why would he be afraid of the emperor? Let her go. The white-robed woman stared at Qin Feiyang. All right. Qin Feiyang nodded. He loosened his grip. Princess Yuxian's remnant soul immediately broke free and flew towards the white-robed woman. The reunion of mother and daughter is really touching. However, it's better for you to die, lest you become a threat to us in the future. The white-eyed wolf looked at the mother and daughter and suddenly laughed. The origin energy in front of him immediately turned into a huge heaven-devouring beast and charged towards the mother and daughter. The white-robed woman quickly rushed out and protected Princess Yuxian's remnant soul. She then stared at Qin Feiyang and the others with eyes full of anger. Don't stare at us like that. Because we have indeed released your daughter, so we did not go back on our word. The white-eyed wolf laughed. You are ruthless. It is not without reason that you can be so arrogant in my divine kingdom for so long. However, you want to kill us, mother and daughter, you are delusional. The white-robed woman's face was frosty. Bang! The next moment, another surge of origin power rushed out of her body. Roar! Accompanied by an earth-shattering dragon roar, this origin energy turned into a huge dragon and roared in the sky, destroying the world. What? There is actually more. Qin Feiyang and the others had a change of expression. Right now, the origin energy summoned by this woman was not any less than the one in the white-eyed wolf's hands. It was even more. It was unimaginable. How much origin energy did she have in her hands? Chapter 45-21. White-eyed wolf, quickly withdraw your origin energy. The demon ancestor growled. The other party had more origin energy than them. They definitely couldn't beat the other party. The most important thing was, at that time, the origin energy would be completely destroyed by the other party. It wasn't easy to obtain this origin energy. If it was destroyed by the woman in white, it would be too much of a pity. So, they had to protect this origin energy and save it for the most critical moment. The white-eyed wolf came back to his senses and immediately withdrew his origin energy. Qin Feiyang rolled up a group of people and once again activated momentary time. Dual will of heavenly Tao and frantically escaped. Who knew if this woman still had any origin energy in her body? Escaping from this place and getting rid of this woman was the wisest choice. Damn it. The woman in white cursed and didn't chase after them. Because she knew that it was impossible for her to catch up. As long as she could save her daughter, it would be fine. Phew. The inner demons in Lu Jiajin, who were rushing over, couldn't help but secretly breathe a sigh of relief. After many tribulations, these guys finally escaped. Moreover, this time, they had made a huge profit. Because Qin Feiyang and the others not only severely injured all the will of heavenly Dao powerhouses of the Central Dynasty, but also obtained the peak-level sovereign divine weapon of the Kuan Peng and the Dragon God. More importantly, they also obtained so much origin energy. Moreover, after this tribulation, Frenzy's strength had greatly increased. The all-evil sword could actually be attached to the will of heavenly Dao. This was truly unheard of. Is Her Highness all right? Landing in front of the woman in white, Lu Jiajin looked at Princess Yuxian's remnant soul and asked. Her soul was almost destroyed. Do you think she's all right? The woman in white stared at him. Lu Jiajin smiled embarrassedly. I really don't understand. Even after mobilizing all the will of heavenly Dao powerhouses of the Central Dynasty, they still couldn't kill these people. What exactly are you guys doing? Could it be that you are all a bunch of good-for-nothings? The woman in white snorted coldly and took Princess Yuxian's remnant soul, opened a space-time tunnel, turned around and left angrily. Lu Jiajin and Yuxian watched the woman in white leave. When the space-time tunnel disappeared, the inner demons laughed and said, with us two spies, how can the Central Dynasty not fail? Low-key, low-key. Lu Jiajin waved his hand. Indeed. If the inner demons and Lu Jiajin had gone all out, it would have been a completely different scene. Not to mention anything else. If the inner demons were to help the Central Dynasty, it would be harder for Qin Feiyang and the others to escape. It's finally over. However, I have a premonition. Lu Jiajin looked at the broken ground, his eyes flashing with an indescribable light. What premonition? The inner demons were suspicious. It seems like something big is about to happen. Furthermore, it might be related to those people who ambushed us. Lu Jiajin mumbled. Weren't the people sent by Dong Qingyuan and Dong Hanzong to ambush us? The inner demons frowned. Do you really think it's them? Lu Jiajin shook his head and laughed. As inner demons, it was not good to be so pure. Not them? The inner demons were stunned. Of course it's not them. They can casually take out two sovereign divine weapons. It's not like you don't know the rules of the Imperial Capital Mountain. Even if it's just a low-level sovereign divine weapon, it has to be approved by the Emperor. However, I really can't think of anyone in the Central Dynasty who would be so generous. Two low-level sovereign divine weapons self-destructed just like that. Lu Jiajin's eyes flashed. He felt that this matter was a bit strange. Could it be, there is a third force in the Central Dynasty? The inner demons pondered for a while and suddenly spoke in surprise. A third force? Lu Jiajin was stunned and turned to look at the inner demons in surprise. I'm just saying. The inner demons laughed dryly. No. I think it's possible. Lu Jiajin shook his head. After saying that, he lowered his head and pondered. How is that possible? Everyone knows that the Central Dynasty belongs to the Dong family. The inner demons laughed. Although the members of the Dong family in the Central Dynasty were divided into different classes, the direct and collateral family members wouldn't dare to go against the Emperor of the Divine Kingdom. What if it's not the Dong family? Lu Jiajin whispered. Not the Dong family? The inner demons paused for a moment and suddenly turned to the place where the space-time tunnel had disappeared. He said in surprise, could it be the Ji family? I don't know. We need to investigate this matter. Lu Jiajin shook his head and thought for a while. Then he smiled and said, it seems that we need to find time to investigate the history of the Central Dynasty. Investigate the history of the Central Dynasty? Don't ask me for this kind of trouble. You can investigate it yourself. The inner demons hurriedly waved his hands. As expected of Qin Feiyang's inner demons. They were all afraid of trouble. I didn't expect you to. Lu Jiajin smiled. At the same time, Qin Feiyang's group arrived above a glacier. They didn't know where this was. Anyway, it was the Sea Lion Demon King who led the way. He said that there were few people here and they could avoid the pursuit of many beasts. Glancing around, they didn't see any beasts nearby. Immediately, the group of people entered an ice valley and sat down on the ground, gasping for air. They had no recollection of what had happened. It's too exciting to follow you. My heart can't stand it. The sea lion demon king wiped the cold sweat on his forehead and shook his head with a bitter smile. In the cold ice valley, he could still sweat. Didn't that explain his current mood and state? Isn't it cool? The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. Cool. My dear brother, can't you see that I'm sweating? If this continues, even if I don't die in the hands of the emperor, I'm afraid I'll be scared to death. The sea lion demon king rolled his eyes. Useless. The white-eyed wolf despised him. Looking at the source energy in front of him, his eyes were full of light. This source energy was undoubtedly the biggest gain this time. Old Qin. This source energy can't be handed over to this guy for safekeeping. Otherwise, he will squander it all on impulse in the future. The madman whispered. Qin Feiyang glanced at the white-eyed wolf. Little madman, do you think I'm deaf? The white-eyed wolf stared at the madman with dissatisfaction. Who was talking bad about him and didn't send a sound transmission? Did he really think he was deaf? I'm not afraid of being heard by you. The madman laughed. Yes, yes, yes. Now you're awesome. The true body of all evil has evolved again. Even the all-evil sword has the will of the heavenly Tao. Speaking of which, the white-eyed wolf suddenly changed the topic and said angrily, why don't you go to the sky? If you're envious, just say it. The madman laughed, his expression full of pride. You can still laugh? Everyone look, how thick is his skin. If it wasn't for him suddenly creating such a tribulation, would we have fallen to such a sorry state? You almost got us killed. The white-eyed wolf had a look of displeasure. When the demon ancestor and the others heard this, they couldn't help but shake their heads and smile bitterly. This time, it was indeed thrilling. However, in the end, it was all thanks to the madman. If it wasn't for his all-evil sword erupting with lethality comparable to the source energy and turning the tide, they might have really died in the Thousand Demons Valley. Okay. The most difficult moment is over. There's nothing to say. As long as everyone can escape unscathed, it's better than anything. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. That's right. The most important thing is that this battle not only allowed us to see the full foundation of the Central Dynasty, but also made us more aware of the gap between us and the Central Dynasty. The demon ancestor nodded. In fact, the gap between us and the Central Dynasty is not that big. The most important thing is the source energy. As long as there is a way to solve the problem of the source energy, overturning the Central Dynasty may not be easy, but at least it's not as difficult as imagined. The madman said. Between his eyebrows, there was full of confidence. Yes. But there is no way to solve the problem of the source energy. And until now, I haven't felt the birth of the power of faith. The growth of the black tortoise world still needs a lot of time. Qin Feiyang sighed. There was a trace of doubt between his eyebrows. Why hasn't the power of faith appeared yet? Is there something missing? Don't think about it. Take out some wine, let us get over the shock. Mu Qing said. It wasn't easy to escape, what was the point of thinking so much? Asking for trouble. Qin Feiyang looked at Mu Qing and then looked at the others. Everyone's expression was full of fatigue. It seemed that this battle was really tiring. But it was understandable. After all, in this battle, they were facing the entire Central Dynasty's will of heavenly Tao. Even he was a little tired. If you want to rest, you have to go to the Black Tortoise world. After all, it's not safe here. Qin Feiyang got up, and with a wave of his hand, the group of people disappeared without a trace. Immediately, Qin Feiyang looked up at the sky, and the figure of the mysterious young man appeared in his mind. I wonder if this guy managed to escape successfully. I hope nothing happened to him. Swish. But just as Qin Feiyang was about to enter the black tortoise world, two black figures appeared in the sky above the ice valley. They were silent, like two ghosts. Qin Feiyang was immediately startled. He looked up at the two people, murderous intent flashing in his eyes. Don't be nervous. We have no ill intentions. One of them spoke, his voice was a little hoarse. Immediately after, the two of them landed in the ice valley, standing opposite Qin Feiyang. The two of them were covered in a black robe, and their faces were also wearing two pitch-black ghost masks. They looked like death gods from hell. No ill intentions? Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned and frowned. Then who are you? How did you know we were here? Who we are is not important at all. You just need to know that we have the same goal. As for how we know you are here, this is because we have been following you since the Thousand Demons Valley. The two of them spoke. Following. Qin Feiyang was shocked. They had been following them since the Thousand Demons Valley. In other words, the two of them were hiding in the space divine object and came here together with the space-time passage opened by them. He was really careless not to have noticed. If they were the Emperor's men, wouldn't they be facing a life and death crisis? Chapter 45-22. Although the other party had shown no malice, Qin Feiyang did not dare to relax his vigilance. Because this was the Central Dynasty. There were only 3 clans in the Central Dynasty, the Human Clan, the Beast Clan, and the Sea Beast Clan. The 3 clans were all the claws and teeth of the Emperor. Therefore, as long as it was not someone he knew, he could not trust them easily. You really don't need to be so vigilant. If we want to harm you, we will definitely choose a sneak attack. Why do we take the initiative to show up? The man with the ghost mask said. How can I trust someone who doesn't even dare to show his face? Qin Feiyang sneered. What if it was a spy sent by the Emperor? Because now the Emperor also knew that it was not easy to kill them, so he might think of such a trick. He would send someone to approach them, gain their trust, and then kill them behind their backs. Although it was just a guess, he had to guard against it. The face is just a skin bag. It will not affect our cooperation. The man with the ghost mask said. Cooperation? Qin Feiyang frowned. Yes. Your goal is to overthrow the Central Dynasty. Our goal is to overthrow the Central Dynasty. It can be said that we are like-minded. And now you have seen the strength of the Central Dynasty. With your strength alone, it is as difficult as ascending to heaven to overthrow the Central Dynasty. So, you need our help. Similarly, in the whole Central Dynasty, only we can help you. The man with the ghost mask smiled hoarsely. So confident? It seems that your strength is very strong. Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered. Not very strong, but not bad. The man with the ghost mask said with a faint smile. Really? Then let me see your so-called not bad strength. Although he was very tired now, as long as he entered the combat state, his dormant courage would wake up. Boom! As Qin Feiyang's voice fell, the dual will of heaven way, like a rolling torrent, oppressed the two men. Don't be impatient. Seeing Qin Feiyang attack, the two men with the ghost mask couldn't help but panic. This person was too difficult to get along with. He attacked without saying a word. But Qin Feiyang turned a deaf ear. The ultimate profundities of the 7 supreme laws were born. Aren't you afraid of attracting the attention of the Death God army by attacking so recklessly here? Although he couldn't see their expressions, it wasn't hard to tell from their panicked tone and eyes that they were panicking. Death God Legion? Didn't you say that you were following us from the Myriad Demons Valley? Then don't you know that the experts of the Central Dynasty's will of heaven, including the members of the Death God army, have all self-detonated in the Myriad Demons Valley? Qin Feiyang sneered. So what if the death god army knew that he was here? This cowardly coward actually dared to boast shamelessly that he could help him? He really didn't know his own worth. The ultimate profundities of the 7 supreme laws shattered the glaciers and shot toward the two of them. The panic-stricken duo hurriedly activated their ultimate meaning. Both of them had the 6 paths' ultimate meaning. Moreover, they also contained the will of the heavenly Tao. 12 ultimate profound meanings shot out. Rumble. However, their 12 ultimate profundities were actually unable to resist Qin Fei Yang's 7 ultimate profundities at all and were annihilated on the spot. Dual will of heaven, so powerful. The duo's heart trembled. One had to know, the other party hadn't activated the ultimate profundities of the law of life and death, the 3,000 clones, and the eye of heaven. They couldn't fight back at all. If all these heaven-defying means were activated, wouldn't they be killed instantly? In fact, they were wrong. Even if Qin Fei Yang didn't activate the law of life and death, the 3,000 clones, and the eye of heaven could still kill them instantly. Boom! The 7 ultimate meanings suddenly fell on top of the duo's heads. The terrifying pressure instantly shattered the ghost masks on their faces. 2 unfamiliar faces immediately appeared in front of Qin Fei Yang. The one on the left was an old red-haired man with wrinkles all over his face. The one on the right was a young man in his 20s. His chiseled facial features were sharp as if they were carved by a knife, and he was filled with a cold aura. Although he looked young, he had mastered the will of the heavenly Tao, so he was obviously an antique. "I've never seen them before," Qin Fei Yang murmured. But the next moment, they noticed the glabella of the duo. There was a flame-shaped mark between their eyebrows. But Qin Fei Yang had never seen this mark before. However, this mark gave him a very strong sense of danger. "What is this?" Qin Fei Yang frowned. The 7 ultimate profound meanings of the 7 ultimate meanings stopped above their heads, emitting an aura that could shock heaven and earth. The duo didn't dare to move. However, the broken ghost mask made the two of them furrow their brows without a trace. It seemed that they were very afraid of others seeing their true faces. "I don't kill nameless people." Qin Fei Yang took a deep breath and said coldly. These 2 people had unknown origins, so he didn't dare to show his face easily. "What do we have to say to make you believe our intentions?" The red-haired old man was helpless. Couldn't there be more trust between people? Qin Fei Yang looked at the duo, his eyes flickering. Were they really here to cooperate with him? But that didn't make sense. How could there be a hidden third party in the Central Dynasty? Because to cooperate with him to overthrow the Central Dynasty, it had to be a third party. But he had been in the Central Dynasty for several years. He had a general understanding of the situation in the Central Dynasty, but he had never heard of any third party. Moreover, if there was really such a thing, his cousin and the inner demons would have heard of it since they had been in the Central Dynasty for so long. But the inner demons and his cousin had never mentioned it to him. After pondering for a while, Qin Fei Yang's eyes flashed. He looked at the duo and said, "Make a blood oath that you're not spies sent by the Emperor. I can believe you for the time being." "Okay." The duo nodded. They made a blood oath without hesitation. "We're really not," Qin Fei Yang murmured. Because if they were sent by the Emperor, the moment the duo made a blood oath, heaven's punishment would come directly. But now, the sky was cloudless and there was no trace of heaven's punishment at all. The red-haired old man looked at the 7 ultimate mysteries above his head with lingering fear and asked, "Can you take back your ultimate mysteries now?" Qin Fei Yang took a deep look at the red-haired old man and waved his hand. The 7 ultimate mysteries immediately dissipated. The duo finally let out a long sigh of relief. This young man who came from a low-leveled civilization really made people feel despair. Qin Fei Yang asked, "Your purpose is to join hands with me to overthrow the Central Dynasty, right?" "That's right." The duo nodded. Qin Fei Yang said, "Then do you have the ability to deal with the power of the origin?" "No." That's why we want to cooperate with you. The red-haired old man was very honest. But the young man next to him was very unhappy with Qin Feiyang's attitude. He sneered and said, "If we had the ability to deal with the power of the origin, why would we need to cooperate with you?" Qin Feiyang glanced at the young man. The young man summoned his courage and looked at Qin Feiyang. After a long time, suddenly, Qin Feiyang stretched out his hand and said indifferently, "Take care. I won't see you off." What was there to be proud of? What right did he have to be arrogant in front of him? How many arrogant people had he seen in his life? "You," the young man glared at Qin Feiyang. "Cut it out." The red-haired old man glared at him, then looked at Qin Feiyang and smiled apologetically. "He's like this. Don't mind him. He has to change his personality. Because it's easy to offend people with this kind of personality." Qin Feiyang said indifferently. "That's right." The red-haired old man nodded. Qin Feiyang said with a faint smile, "Since we're talking about cooperation, you should at least tell me something. You must know quite a lot about me, but I know nothing about you. So tell me honestly, who are you? What grudges do you have with the Central Dynasty?" "For now, I can't tell you." The red-haired old man was silent for a while and shook his head. "I can't tell you." Qin Feiyang was slightly startled, then laughed. "Is this the sincerity of your cooperation?" "Sorry, I don't feel it. Please." Although they had sworn a blood oath that they were not spies sent by the emperor, it did not mean anything else. What if they had ulterior motives? Therefore, if they wanted to cooperate, they had to know each other first. The red-haired old man said awkwardly, "Brother Qin, it's not that we don't want to tell you, but this is a serious matter. We can't tell you. Please understand." "I don't want to say it again." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. "Don't go too far. We're cooperating because of our interests. Do you really need to know so much?" The young man said angrily. "Even if it's a mutually beneficial relationship, we have to know who's the biggest beneficiary first." Also, Qin Feiyang turned to look at the blood-haired old man and said indifferently, "This person isn't suitable to negotiate with others. Don't bring him along when you come looking for me next time. Otherwise, if I get angry, I might directly annihilate all of you." The young man clenched his fists hearing this. "What are you doing? Don't you think it's troublesome enough?" The red-haired old man noticed the young man's anger and said to himself, "How can you blame me for this? It's him. He's too arrogant." The young man was furious. He has the right to be arrogant. If it were you, would you be able to force the emperor and the others to this point? The red-haired old man harumphed and looked at Qin Feiyang with a smile. "How about this? I'll go back and ask for permission. If it's okay, I'll tell you everything." "Sure." Qin Feiyang nodded. The red-haired old man took out the voice transmission stone and said with a smile, "Then let's build a bridge so we can contact each other." Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and took out the voice transmission stone. Building a bridge would not affect anything, so it was fine. "Then we'll be leaving." After the bridge was built, the red-haired old man put away the voice transmission stone and smiled at Qin Feiyang. He then opened a space-time passage and left with the young man. Chapter 45-23. "This is really interesting." Qin Feiyang looked at the backs of the two as they left, and a smile appeared on his face. He really didn't expect it. There was actually a hidden third party in the Central Dynasty. However, he still couldn't be careless. He needed to let the inner demons and big cousin investigate it properly. Immediately, Qin Feiyang scanned his surroundings. It was obvious that he couldn't stay here any longer. He waved his hand and opened a space-time tunnel. This time, he was very vigilant. Before entering the space-time tunnel, he released his divine sense to make sure that no one was following him before entering the space-time tunnel. Imperial Capital Mountain. When the woman in white returned to Imperial Capital Mountain, she found that it was already a mess. Everywhere was riddled with holes. The fluctuations of the battle spread all the way to the Star River. The woman in white raised her eyebrows slightly, took a step forward and entered the Star River. She found that the Emperor was the only one standing in the Star River. The Star River was also fragmented and filled with a tragic aura. The Emperor himself was also dripping with blood and had suffered serious injuries. "Are you okay?" The woman in white walked forward and asked with concern. Looking up at the woman in white, a hint of gentleness flashed across the Emperor's face, but it was immediately replaced by a trace of coldness. He said in a deep voice, "This is simply outrageous. How dare they brazenly attack my imperial capital mountain? We can only blame ourselves for underestimating them in the past." The woman in white sighed. "I promise that this will never happen again." The Emperor turned his hands and asked, "How is my daughter?" The woman in white waved her hand, and Princess Yuxian's remnant soul appeared. She said, "She's just too heavily injured and fainted. Her life is not in danger." "That's good. Father loves this girl the most. If anything happens to her, when he comes back, he will skin me alive." The Emperor heaved a sigh of relief. The woman in white smiled and asked, "What about Qin Badian? He has already escaped. But I really don't understand. He's just an ant from a low-level civilization. How can he have such an outrageous origin power?" The Emperor was furious. Every time he thought of the mysterious young man, he couldn't help but go crazy. If it wasn't for the origin power in the young man's hands, he would have already died. The performance of these people is really surprising. And now, apart from Qin Badian, Qin Feiyang and the others are more difficult to deal with than before. The white-robed woman was deeply worried. The Emperor looked at her suspiciously. "Previously, when I hurried to the Myriad Demons Valley, my daughter had already fallen into their hands. I had no choice but to take out a portion of my origin energy to exchange with them." The white-clothed woman sighed. "What?" The Emperor's face turned pale, and he hurriedly asked, "How much origin energy did you give them?" "1/3. The woman in white said. "So many?" The Emperor's expression froze on the spot. These people were already so powerful. Now that they had 1/3 of the source energy, wouldn't they be even more difficult to deal with in the future? "That's not right. Isn't our daughter protected by the domain of death? How did she fall into the hands of Qin Feiyang and the others?" "The domain of death is a defensive barrier that Lord Father created using the supreme profundity of the law of death. You and I both know how powerful it is. Apart from the power of the origin, there is nothing that can break it." The Emperor frowned. "I'm not sure about this either. We'll have to wait until our daughter wakes up, or summon Dong Qingyuan and the others to come and ask them." But it said that, this time, the people who went to encircle Qin Feiyang and the others all self-destructed. The white-clothed woman sighed. Who would have thought that the strength of just a few people could shake the entire central dynasty and make them fall into such a sorry state? They all self-destructed. The Emperor found it hard to accept this fact. Because when he left the Myriad Demons Valley, everything was still under control. This time, our central dynasty has suffered a great loss. Let's go. Let's go down and see if there is any damage to the forbidden area of our imperial capital mountain. Everyone's soul fragments are all there, so nothing can happen to the forbidden area. The white-clothed woman supported the Emperor and walked out of the Star River step by step. At the same time, Qin Feiyang changed his appearance and returned to Green Wind City. The news of the battle in the Myriad Demons Valley had already spread in the Central Dynasty. Therefore, Green Wind City was also talking about it. "What did you say? Qin Feiyang and the others fought against the Emperor and the others in the Myriad Demons Valley? They are too bold, aren't they? They even dared to face the Emperor directly. What's the result? Who won and who lost? I don't know. There is no doubt that our central dynasty will win. After all, it is said that the Emperor has gathered all the experts of the will of heaven in the central dynasty, including the monster kings of the Kunpeng Sea region and the beast kings of the Sky Dragon Mountain Range. If we still can't kill Qin Feiyang and the others, then it is too unreasonable. So, our central dynasty can finally return to peace? Hearing these discussions, Qin Feiyang smiled without saying anything and went straight to the city lord mansion. Ji Xiaowu had been in the backyard. Seeing Qin Feiyang come back alive, he was slightly stunned. Then he looked around and found that there was indeed no one around. He quickly got up and ran to Qin Feiyang and whispered, "Qin Dage, are you okay? Do I look like I'm not okay?" Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Ji Xiaowu looked up and down at Qin Feiyang carefully. He didn't lose an arm or a leg, nor did he have any serious injuries. It seemed that he was really okay. However, this was too incredible. Didn't the rumors say that the emperor had gathered all the experts of the will of heaven to besiege them in the Myriad Demons Valley? How could they escape unscathed? Are you hoping that something will happen to us? Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. No. I have been quite worried. Ji Xiaowu quickly waved his hand. You are worried about us? Qin Feiyang was stunned and asked curiously, why? I don't know either. Anyway, I am quite worried about you. Ji Xiaowu shook his head. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. It seemed that senior brother Crazy didn't misjudge him. This kid was still a person with a conscience. Where are the others? Seeing that only Qin Feiyang came back, Ji Xiaowu asked suspiciously. They are all resting in the Black Tortoise realm. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and walked toward the pavilion. Ji Xiaowu quickly followed behind him and asked expectantly, Qin Dage, what is the final result? Did you win or did the emperor and the others win? Don't worry. There will be news soon. Qin Feiyang entered the pavilion without looking back and sat in front of the tea table. He finally relaxed. Ji Xiaowu was very sensible. He immediately squatted aside and began to make tea. Looking at this little guy, Qin Feiyang's eyes were a bit complicated. Although this kid was indeed likable, he was still from the central dynasty after all. It was really difficult to determine his future position. Qin Dage, I really admire you. I can't believe you're able to fight against all of our central dynasty's will of heaven. If I were as strong as you, I wouldn't be unable to protect my mother. Ji Xiaowu shook his head and sighed as he made tea. Do you hate your mother's death? Qin Feiyang asked. Ji Xiaowu's body stiffened. After a moment of silence, he continued to make tea and nodded, of course I do. But Dong Daqian is your biological grandfather after all. Qin Feiyang said. I know. But has he ever treated me as his biological grandson? Never. So now, there is only hatred in my heart for him. I want to take revenge on him. At this point, Ji Xiaowu couldn't control the murderous intent in his heart. He exerted a little force and the teapot almost shattered. Revenge, Qin Feiyang murmured. Ji Xiaowu poured tea and sat opposite Qin Feiyang. Looking at the silent Qin Feiyang, he asked, Qin Dage, are you against my revenge? Against? Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. He picked up the teacup and took a sip. This is your personal matter. Why should I object? Besides, you are not a child. You have your own opinions and the right to choose. I just want to tell you that since you have decided to do it, don't regret it. I won't regret it. Ji Xiaowu's eyes were firm. Because he knew too well the harm Dong Daqian had caused to his family. If it weren't for Dong Daqian, his family of 3 might still be living in seclusion in the mountains, living a peaceful and carefree life. So he hated. Why did he forcibly separate them? Why did he break their peaceful life? Why did he force his mother to death? It's good that you have this awareness. I can't help you much. When I master the will of heaven, I will give you other inheritances if you need them. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. Thank you, Qin Dage. Giving me the inheritance is already the greatest help you can give me. I won't be greedy. Ji Xiaowu said gratefully. Okay. Go do your work. If there's any movement, inform me immediately. Qin Feiyang said. Okay. Ji Xiaowu nodded and was about to get up and leave. Young city lord. But at this moment, a guard hurriedly ran over. Ji Xiaowu turned to look at the guard. The imperial bodyguard entered the main hall and bowed to Qin Feiyang. Greetings, Sir Consecrator. No need to be so polite. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. What's the matter? Why are you in such a panic? Ji Xiaowu looked at the guard in confusion. I just received news that the battle between Qin Feiyang and the Emperor and the others in the Thousand Demons Valley has caused huge losses to the Central Dynasty. The guard said with a frightened look. Losses? Ji Xiaowu was stunned. Yes. It is said that within 100 million miles around the Thousand Demons Valley, people were in a terrible situation and blood flowed like a river. Many cities were affected and there were countless casualties. Even the imperial capital mountain suffered a great calamity. The guard said. The imperial capital mountain. Ji Xiaowu was shocked. Qin Feiyang's eyes were also filled with curiosity. Yes. I heard that a man named Long Chen and a man named Xin Batian went to the imperial capital mountain one after another and almost razed it to the ground. Even the emperor was seriously injured. The guard nodded. Ji Xiaowu's face was full of shock and even his breathing was a little rapid. Chapter 45-24. This was too strong. What kind of existence was the emperor? For people like Ji Xiaowu, the emperor was a god. Now, the god in his heart had been seriously injured. One could imagine how big of an impact this news had on him. Furthermore, there's also news saying that the people that went to encircle and annihilate Qin Feiyang's group were practically all annihilated. Even Princess Yuxian would have died at the hands of Qin Feiyang's group had it not been for her mother's timely arrival. The guard said. Too strong, he's ridiculously strong. Ji Xiaowu murmured. The most important thing was. This terrifying existence was sitting right in front of him at this very moment. Qin Feiyang looked at the guard and asked, what about Qin Batian? I heard that he has escaped. Speaking of which, we are really lucky. Fortunately, they didn't kill us in Green Wind City. Otherwise, we would have gone to see the King of Hell. The guard said with lingering fear. Don't talk nonsense. Ji Xiaowu stared at the guard. Huh? The guard was stunned. Did he say something wrong? You can leave now. If there is any news, report to me immediately. Ji Xiaowu didn't explain and waved his hand. Yes. The guard nodded respectfully and then turned to leave with a suspicious look. Qin Feiyang looked at Ji Xiaowu speechlessly and said, Don't be so obvious. Are you afraid that others don't know that I am Qin Feiyang? Ji Xiaowu scratched his head and laughed dryly. He was worried that the guard would talk too much and go too far, so he chased the guard away. It's okay to talk about it. I am not such a petty person. Let's talk about it later. I am an enemy of the Central Dynasty. It is normal for the guards to talk about me behind my back. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. If he was angry over such a small matter, wouldn't he be angered to death? Ha! Ji Xiaowu laughed dryly and bowed. Then have a good rest. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded. Ji Xiaowu turned and walked out of the pavilion. He closed the door and looked up at the sky. He could not hide the admiration on his face as he murmured, they are really too powerful. I really hope that one day, I can be like them. No, as long as I can be 1/10 of them, I will be satisfied. In the hall. Qin Feiyang sat in front of the tea table and pondered for a moment. Then, he stood up and entered the Black Tortoise world. As long as the mysterious youth escaped safely, he could rest in peace. Tea garden. Other than the frenzied one and the white-eyed wolf, who were still drinking, the others had already returned to their respective residences and were concentrating on cultivating. After all, in the outside world, a few years had passed in the Black Tortoise world. "What's the situation outside?" White-eyed Wolf asked. "It's all right. The young man has escaped. But when I was in the glacier, I met 2 ghost-masked people. They've been tailing us all this time." Qin Feiyang said. "What? Tailing us? Ghost masked man? Who are they? How dare they tail us? Are they looking for death?" The 2 suddenly stood up. Their bodies reeked of alcohol and murderous intent. Calm down, calm down." Qin Feiyang waved his hand, motioning the 2 to sit down. Then, he briefly explained the situation. The frenzied one and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other. "What's going on? Someone actually came to cooperate with them? You mean, there's a third force in the Central Dynasty?" The frenzied one frowned. "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded. "That's really interesting." The white-eyed wolf laughed. They thought that the Central Dynasty was an iron plate. Unexpectedly, there were undercurrents surging. The origin of these people is very mysterious. It's better to be careful. Qin Feiyang smiled. "Yes." The 2 nodded. Boom! At this moment, a powerful aura suddenly surged out from a courtyard. In the sky, a cloud suddenly appeared. "Yes?" The 3 of them looked up. Was this the sign of the arrival of the will of heavens? In that case, someone was about to master the will of heavens. Soon, a blood-red figure flew out and landed in the sky. Qin Feiyang and the other 2 looked at this person and couldn't help but smile. Because this person was Li Feng. This kid has finally mastered the will of heavens. But speaking of which, his talent and comprehension are indeed a bit weaker than the ancestor demon and the others. The white-eyed wolf said. "Yes." The frenzied one nodded. Because Li Feng had already mastered 2 ultimates when he was in the Sky Bell Divine Treasure and devoured the souls of the dead. In other words, at first, he walked in front of the ancestor demon and the others. But now, the ancestor demon and the others had mastered the will of heavens before him. This was enough to show that even if they had opened the door of potential and had the same inheritance, their comprehension and talent were still worse than the ancestor demon and the others. In the past, the reason why Li Feng improved faster than the ancestor demon and the others was because of the demonic book that the ancestor blood imparted to him. Otherwise, the current Li Feng might not even have stepped into the Dominator realm. It could be said that, in the first half of his life, the ancestor blood created Li Feng, and in the second half, Qin Feiyang created Li Feng. Qin Dage, Brother Lunatic, Brother Wolf. After integrating with the will of heavens, Li Feng impatiently ran in front of Qin Feiyang and the others, as if waiting for them to praise him. "Young man, be more steady. Don't be cocky just because you have mastered the will of heavens." Lunatic joked with a smile. "Ha," Li Feng smiled. "Kid, you also missed a good show." The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. "What good show?" Li Feng looked at the 3 suspiciously. "Of course, the battle with the Central Dynasty. But it doesn't matter. There will be plenty of opportunities in the future. We are very optimistic about you. Perform well." The white-eyed wolf patted Li Feng's shoulder, looking like an old man, which made people not know whether to laugh or cry. "I will." Li Feng nodded. His expression was very solemn and serious. Why was he so eager to become stronger? In the past, it was because he wanted revenge. But now, it was because he wanted to protect the people around him. He had already lost all his family members, so he silently swore that he would never lose these brothers who treated him like their own brothers. Suddenly, The white-eyed wolf rolled his eyes and looked at Qin Feiyang and Lunatic, saying with a smirk, coincidentally, this kid has mastered the will of heavens. To celebrate, why don't we make a trip to Emperor Capital Mountain again? Huh? Qin Feiyang and Lunatic looked at the white-eyed wolf in shock. Make a trip to Emperor Capital Mountain again? What did that mean? Think about it. The will of heaven's powerhouses of the Central Dynasty have all self-destructed in Myriad Devil Valley. That means that now, apart from the Emperor and his wife, no one in the Central Dynasty can threaten us. So, why don't we take advantage of their weakness and suddenly kill our way to Emperor Capital Mountain and destroy their split divine souls in advance? In this way, won't they be completely dead? The white-eyed wolf laughed. Good idea. Li Feng's eyes lit up. Good my ass. Qin Feiyang and Lunatic glared at him. Isn't it good? Li Feng scratched his head. You just came out of seclusion and don't know what's going on. Why are you still blindly cheering? Lunatic was speechless. This damn wolf cub was really something. As long as he was free, he would come up with all kinds of unreliable ideas. Qin Feiyang shook his head and said, although the Central Dynasty's vitality has been greatly damaged, just the Emperor and his wife alone isn't something we can contend against. Therefore, going to the Imperial Capital Mountain is just courting death. You're courting death. Li Feng was shocked and hurriedly looked at the white-eyed wolf. Brother Wolf, you're a scammer. And he said that he was going to celebrate? He was clearly bringing him to his death. Who are you calling a scammer? Impudent, believe it or not, I'll teach you a lesson. The white-eyed wolf raised his brows and glared angrily. Ha, Li Feng hurriedly smiled. Although he had now grasped the will of the heavens, he did not dare to challenge the white-eyed wolf. Even if we can't go to Emperor Capital Mountain, we can still go to the top 10 clans. I don't believe that the souls left behind by these people are also in Emperor Capital Mountain. The white-eyed wolf sneered. This proposal, Qin Feiyang was stunned and nodded. It's feasible. Then shall we act now? When the ingrate heard this, he immediately became excited. Wait. Qin Feiyang stopped the white-eyed wolf. His eyes flashed and said, compared to the top 10 clans, I care more about the monster kings of the Kunpeng Sea region and the beast kings of the Sky Dragon Mountain range. Monster kings, beast kings, the white-eyed wolf murmured. That's right. The top 10 clans, in total, only have more than 3,000 Will of the Heavens experts. And the monster kings and beast kings of the Kunpeng Sea region and Sky Dragon Mountain range add up to 20,000. If we can capture them all, it will be a real profit. The lunatic nodded. Moreover, if they could capture these monster kings and beast kings, they would be able to obtain more than 100,000 ultimate arcana inheritances. Not only would it greatly weaken the overall strength of the Central Dynasty, but they would also be able to obtain so many inheritances. It was killing two birds with one stone. How about this, we will split into 3 groups. I will take Li Feng to the top 10 clans, and the 2 of you will go to the Kunpeng Sea region and Sky Dragon Mountain range? The white-eyed wolf pondered for a while and looked at Qin Feiyang and said. The 2 of you will go to the top 10 clans? I'm afraid it won't be enough to fill the gaps between their teeth. The lunatic despised. What did you say? The white-eyed wolf immediately slammed the stone table and roared, Do you know that you are humiliating me? The top 10 clans did not even have a single Will of the Heavens expert. He could kill a large number of them with a wave of his hand. How dare he say it won't be enough to fill the gaps between their teeth? What senior brother said makes sense. When we were in the Thousand Demons Valley, the top 10 clans might not have all moved. Besides, as the top 10 clans of the Central Dynasty and the closest relatives of the Lord of the Divine Kingdom, how could they not have powerful Dominator Divine weapons? Maybe the top 10 clans all have peak-level Dominator Divine weapons. Qin Feiyang said. Ah. The white-eyed wolf was stunned. Then they really couldn't act recklessly. And once we act, we will definitely alert the enemy. The other clans, including the Kunpeng Sea region and Sky Dragon Mountain Range, will definitely immediately protect the divine souls of these people and even move them to the Emperor Capital Mountain. In other words, we only have one chance to act. So, we have to act from the side that will benefit the most. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed. The side that would benefit the most was undoubtedly the monster kings of the Kunpeng Sea region and the beast kings of the Sky Dragon Mountain Range. Chapter 45-25. The madman pondered, if that's the case, the Kunpeng Sea region has rules and restrictions, which is somewhat troublesome. Why don't we go to the Sky Dragon Mountain Range? Sky Dragon Mountain Range, Qin Feiyang whispered. It seems that until now, they still don't know where the Sky Dragon Mountain Range is. Where's the Sea Lion Monster King? Suddenly, Qin Feiyang looked at the two and asked suspiciously. Why haven't I seen this guy before? The white-eyed wolf said, this guy, as soon as he came to the Black Tortoise Realm, he said that he wanted to see the scenery of the Black Tortoise Realm. Qin Feiyang immediately closed his eyes. His perception extended infinitely. In an instant, it covered the entire Black Tortoise Realm. Don't say. The current Black Tortoise Realm, according to Qin Feiyang's estimation, is already comparable to 4 eastern continents. In other words, excluding the Sky Cloud Sea, the current size of the Black Tortoise Realm is comparable to the 4 continents of the Sky Cloud Realm. It's almost catching up to the Sky Cloud Realm. Soon, he found the Sea Lion Monster King. The Sea Lion Monster King transformed into a human form and was drinking in a restaurant in a city. He was hugging women on both sides and was very happy. He really knows how to enjoy. Qin Feiyang muttered. What is he doing? The madman and the white-eyed wolf were curious. Besides having fun, what else can he do? Qin Feiyang shook his head. A monster king is also so flirtatious. With a thought, the Sea Lion Monster King immediately appeared in front of him. Being inexplicably teleported to the tea garden made the Sea Lion Monster King a little confused. In his hand, there was a wine jar. On his face and neck, there were also a few eye-catching lip marks. The madman and the white-eyed wolf looked at this scene and the corners of their mouths twitched. They really didn't expect the Sea Lion Monster King to like this. It's quite comfortable. Qin Feiyang stared at the Sea Lion Monster King with a dark face. Now, everyone is racing against time to cultivate, but this guy is actually still in the mood to eat, drink and play. What's comfortable? The Sea Lion Monster King played dumb. Qin Feiyang was taken aback. Playing dumb with him? This experience was really tough. Let's drink some wine and relax. The Sea Lion Demon King chuckled. His expression was extremely unnatural. Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched. He pretended to be addicted and asked, then how did the lipstick marks on your face and neck come about? Lipstick? Hearing this, the Sea Lion Demon King hurriedly wiped his hands. Finally, he looked at his hands and raised his head to look at Qin Feiyang, asking, is it? Why didn't I see it? You've wiped it clean. Of course I can't see it. The white-eyed wolf was speechless. Madman's expression was also extremely strange. He looked at Sea Lion and said, don't you know that old Qin is the ruler of the Black Tortoise world? If he wants to know what you are doing, all he needs is a single thought. Ah. The sovereign has such an ability? The Sea Lion Demon King was stunned. When Madman heard this, he immediately rolled his eyes. This was something that even an idiot could think of, yet this fellow had not thought of it. How did he cultivate to this level? How did he become the Demon King of Kunpeng Sea region? Ha! The Sea Lion Demon King laughed dryly and looked at Qin Feiyang. I'm sorry, this. I just couldn't help it. But don't worry, I'm not a womanizer. I just asked them to accompany me for a drink. Stop. Qin Feiyang reached out and interrupted the Sea Lion Demon King's words, asking, Where is the Sky Dragon Mountain Range? Sky Dragon Mountain Range? The Sea Lion Demon King was taken aback. Why did he suddenly ask about this place? Could it be, these guys aren't going to stop and are preparing to kill their way to the Sky Dragon Mountain Range? Don't say you don't know. Madman looked at him unkindly. I know. The Sea Lion Demon King quickly nodded. His eyes turned slightly as he looked at Li Feng suspiciously and asked, "Who is this? Why haven't I seen him before?" Li Feng, our little brother. Don't change the topic. Say it quickly. The white-eyed wolf said impatiently. The Sea Lion Demon King did want to change the topic, but who would have thought that the white-eyed wolf didn't fall for it at all? All right. The Sky Dragon Mountain Range is located in the Far East. It's also the easternmost part of the Central Dynasty. It's vast and boundless, the Sea Lion Demon King said. But Qin Feiyang and the other three didn't want to hear the latter part of the sentence at all. What vast geography? What boundless horizon? It was all nonsense. As a force of the Central Dynasty, the Sky Dragon Mountain Range must be vast. Is there a need to say more? Coordinates. The white-eyed wolf's face darkened. After saying so much, this guy just doesn't want to go to the Sky Dragon Mountain Range. I've never seen such a timid person. The dragon god was seriously injured, and his sovereign divine weapon is now in their hands. All the beast kings have lost their physical bodies. What else is there to be afraid of? What coordinates do you want? Just lead the way. Qin Feiyang got up and smiled. This guy doesn't want to go, but he wants me to go. Spare me. I still have to comprehend the laws and integrate the inheritance. The Sea Lion Demon King looked at Qin Feiyang with a bitter face. Now that you know you have to comprehend the laws and integrate the inheritance, what were you doing earlier? After saying that, Qin Feiyang grabbed the Sea Lion Demon King and led the other three out of the Black Tortoise realm. After changing their appearances, the five of them smoothly left the city. Now in the city, it was even more lively. Everyone was talking about their deeds. There were voices of awe and also voices of insults. But these, Qin Feiyang and the others didn't care. After experiencing countless life and death situations, they had long been used to these rumors. After leaving the city, the Sea Lion Demon King opened a space-time tunnel and reluctantly led Qin Feiyang and the other three to the Sky Dragon Mountain Range. In the Far East. The easternmost part of the Central Dynasty. This was a vast stretch of mountains and rivers. The mountains stood tall and majestic. Numerous old trees stood tall and straight, towering into the sky. The thinnest old tree required 2 or 3 people to surround it. The thickest ancient tree would probably require dozens of adults holding hands to encircle it. Looking from afar, some of the ancient trees were like giant mountains. One could imagine. This mountain range had existed for many years. In the mountain, fierce beasts were everywhere. Flying in the sky, running on the ground, swimming in the water, everything was there. Some fierce beasts were as big as a mountain range. Some fierce beasts were as long as a mountain ridge. There were also some fierce beasts that were as small as mosquitoes. But without exception, they all exuded a terrifying might. Beside the entrance of the mountain range, there was a towering mountain peak with precipitous cliffs. On the bare cliff, there were 4 large words engraved with a murderous aura. Sky Dragon Mountain Range. With the arrival of Qin Feiyang and the others, the fierce beasts in the mountains suddenly became chaotic. It's Qin Feiyang. Madman Mo. Golden-winged Wolf King. Sea Lion Demon King. That's right. They look exactly the same as the description in the wanted portrait. Didn't they just escape from the Thousand Devil Valley? Why did they come to our Sky Dragon Mountain Range? Could it be that they're here to take revenge on us? Run. There were also some bold fierce beasts that ran out in front of Qin Feiyang and the others, berating, "This is not a place you should be, get lost immediately. Get lost. The white-eyed wolf said. In his eyes, killing intent flashed. Feeling the killing intent of the white-eyed wolf, no matter how bold the fierce beasts were, they couldn't bear it and immediately turned into frightened birds and fled. The group of 5 stepped into the mountain range unscrupulously as if there was no one there. Where is the lair of the dragon god? Li Feng turned his head to look at the sea lion demon king and asked. It's actually at the Sky Dragon Lake. It's located in the central area of the Sky Dragon Mountain Range. The sea lion demon king said casually. He didn't put Li Feng in his eyes at all, unlike when he was facing Qin Feiyang and the others. According to Li Feng's temper in the past, he would have already killed them. But now, he also directly ignored him. Because he had followed Qin Feiyang for so long and was influenced by him, his mentality had already changed. Stop. You can't be so unreasonable. Trespassing into someone else's home for no reason. Suddenly, a few more fierce beasts ran out. These ferocious beasts had mastered 5 ultimate profundities of ultimate laws and were only a step away from the will of the heavenly Tao. Their plan was, since they couldn't beat these fierce beasts, they would reason with them. It was quite sullen to say that. Ferocious beasts were actually forced to reason with humans. Who's reasonable with you? Madman glanced at the beasts and said to the sea lion demon king, go directly to the Sky Dragon Lake. There were no rules or restrictions in the Sky Dragon Mountain Range. So, as long as you have enough strength, you can directly teleport anywhere. However, the sea lion demon king was a bit troubled. What's wrong? Madman was suspicious. The sea lion demon king smiled. Although I know the existence of the Sky Dragon Lake, I have never been there, so I don't have the coordinates of the Sky Dragon Lake. Madman was speechless. A dignified demon king actually hadn't even been to the Sky Dragon Lake? There's no other way. The Sky Dragon Lake is the lair of the dragon god. Except for big shots like Kunpeng, we demon kings are not qualified to set foot there. The sea lion demon king laughed dryly. You still want to go to the Sky Dragon Lake? Preposterous. What's the difference between you and bandits? The few fierce beasts in front angrily rebuked. It's so noisy. Little brother, shut them up and force them to tell you the standard of the Sky Dragon Lake. The white-eyed wolf picked his ears and said lightly. Okay. Li Feng nodded. Taking a step forward, he rushed towards the beasts. The beasts looked at Li Feng suspiciously. This human didn't seem to be on the wanted list of the emperor. Moreover, they hadn't heard of any amazing deeds. Thus, they thought that this was just an ordinary human. Boom! The beast's eyes flashed fiercely. This was looking down on them too much, asking an ordinary human to deal with them. One after another, the ultimate profound of the strongest law appeared. A total of more than 20. The aura was quite scary. But Li Feng's face was full of disdain. Boom! The next moment, the 6 ultimate profound appeared, and the will of heavenly Tao erupted. What? It's actually a powerhouse with the will of heavenly Tao. The ferocious beasts were stunned. The sea lion demon king also looked at Li Feng in astonishment. A powerhouse with the will of heavenly Tao, why hadn't he heard of it from Qin Feiyang and the others before? Boom! The 6 ultimate profound of the strongest law carried the will of heavenly Tao. Accompanied by a loud bang, more than 20 ultimate profound of the other party were annihilated on the spot. The ferocious beasts also let out miserable shrieks. Their bodies immediately exploded in the void, and blood and flesh splattered everywhere. Chapter 45-26. Damn! He's also a fierce man. Fortunately, he only grasped 6 ultimate profound meanings, while this king grasped 7. My strength is still above his. The sea lion beast king muttered. Li Feng waved his hand and suppressed the souls of the beasts, saying, "Tell me the coordinates of the heavenly dragon lake." "Impossible." The souls of the beasts shook their heads. "You're courting death." A bloody light suddenly appeared in Li Feng's eyes. The sea lion beast king, who had his back facing him, hadn't felt it yet. However, the pupils of the beasts couldn't help but shrink, as if a demon king was awakening in front of them. About this point, it was not wrong at all. Because as the disciple of the blood ancestor, Li Feng was known as the little demon in the sky cloud realm. Countless living beings trembled in fear upon hearing his name. We'll talk. Unable to withstand Li Feng's murderous aura, the beasts quickly told him the coordinates of the heavenly dragon lake. The bloody light in Li Feng's eyes also dissipated. He turned to look at Qin Feiyang and smiled. "Qin Dage, what should we do with their souls? The ultimate mysteries can't be wasted." Qin Feiyang smiled. "Understood." Li Feng bared his teeth. He immediately sealed the souls of the beasts and returned to Qin Feiyang's side. Immediately after, the souls of the beasts were suppressed in the soul-sealing valley by Qin Feiyang. At the same time, Madman also began to open a space-time tunnel. The group of 5 stepped into the tunnel one after another and soon arrived above a lake. This lake was the Heavenly Dragon Lake. The lake was calm and clear like a mirror, reflecting the blue sky and the blazing sun. And the lake was huge. There was no end in sight. Qin Feiyang and the others immediately released their divine sense and began a carpet search of the Heavenly Dragon Lake. However, the huge Heavenly Dragon Lake was dead silent at this moment. There was not a single creature in the lake. As for the souls of the Dragon God and the Beast King, none of them were found. What's going on? The Heavenly Dragon Lake can be considered the holy land of the Heavenly Dragon Mountain Range. Shouldn't their split souls be hidden here? The white-eyed wolf frowned. Could it be, their split souls are all on Imperial Capital Mountain? Madman was bewildered. Imperial Capital Mountain, the white-eyed wolf muttered. He suddenly swept his gaze towards the mountain range behind him. His divine sense flooded out, and soon, he saw countless vicious beasts in the mountains. These ferocious beasts were hiding in the mountains, staring at them in horror. Roar! Suddenly, the white-eyed wolf's battle soul, the heaven-swallowing beast, roared. The oppression of the sovereign of all beasts shrouded the world. All the ferocious beasts felt like they were about to suffocate under this pressure. Answer me. Where are the divine souls of the Dragon God and the various beast kings? If you don't speak, I'll kill all of you. The white-eyed wolf roared angrily, his killing intent soaring to the heavens. Their souls have already been transferred to Imperial Capital Mountain, a ferocious beast exclaimed in horror. Transferred to Imperial Capital Mountain? The white-eyed wolf was taken aback for a moment, frowning. When did this happen? After the self-detonation. A beast said. Qin Feiyang and the others looked at each other and couldn't help but frown. After the self-detonation, they were transferred to Imperial Capital Mountain? It seemed that, the Dragon God might have expected that they would come to the Sky Dragon Mountain range to exterminate them, so he transferred them in advance. This person is quite smart. Madman's expression was rather annoyed. I think, not only the Dragon God and the Beast Kings here, even the Beast Kings of the Kunpeng Sea region and the people of the top 10 families have already transferred their divine souls to Imperial Capital Mountain. Qin Feiyang whispered. Then didn't we come here for nothing? The white-eyed wolf's current mood was very bad. For nothing, Qin Feiyang murmured, glancing at the surrounding mountains and rivers, and sneered, with so many beasts, so many ultimate mysteries, so many resources, how could it be for nothing? The white-eyed wolf and the others were taken aback and immediately understood Qin Feiyang's meaning. Capturing the beasts of the Sky Dragon Mountain range and depriving them of their ultimate mysteries. Then let's do it. Madman laughed. The all-evil sword appeared. Boom! The will of heaven erupted. The sharpness swept across the world. I didn't expect to encounter such a good thing as soon as I came out. Then I won't be polite. Puppet real body, open. Li Feng laughed loudly, and the 3 puppet real bodies appeared. One after another, ultimate mysteries appeared, and like a demon god, they rushed into the mountains and rivers below. What is this? The sea lion beast king looked at Li Feng's puppet real body with a dull expression. The 3 puppets could actually activate the ultimate mysteries, will of heaven? Isn't this the same logic as the 3,000 incarnations? Don't underestimate him. With his strength, he can kill you in seconds. Qin Feiyang glanced at the sea lion beast king and smiled mockingly. He then activated the 3,000 incarnations and ordered, "Don't leave any beasts that have mastered the ultimate mysteries behind. Take them all away." Whoosh! The 3,000 incarnations grinned hideously, and like a pack of hungry wolves, they pounced into the mountains. Screams, wails, and curses resounded through the sky. To be able to kill me in seconds, the sea lion beast king looked at Li Feng, who was crazily slaughtering the beasts, and couldn't help but swallow his saliva. Suddenly, Li Feng turned around and killed another group of beasts. The sea lion beast king felt as if he was struck by lightning. This was because he finally saw Li Feng's blood-red eyes. It was like a demon, and it made one's heart turn cold. True enough. No one around Qin Feiyang was simple. Don't just stand there, hurry and help. Qin Feiyang glared at him. Okay. The sea lion beast king nodded and immediately activated his ultimate mysteries and will of heaven to join the battle. There were many beasts in the Sky Dragon Mountain range. But at this moment, none of them had mastered the will of heaven. Therefore, in the face of Frenzy's group and Qin Feiyang's 3,000 incarnations, they had no power to fight back and could only flee in panic. But in the end, they all fell into the hands of Frenzy's group one by one. Qin Feiyang himself was frantically plundering the resources of the Sky Dragon Mountain range. Under the Sky Dragon Mountain range, there were a large number of crystal veins and spirit veins. In the mountains, there were also many rare medicinal herbs. These were all treasures that could benefit the Black Tortoise world. Naturally, they couldn't let them go. About half an hour passed. Qin Feiyang and the others gathered at the entrance of the Sky Dragon Mountain range. The entire Sky Dragon Mountain range had been razed to the ground, destroyed in an instant. Moreover, not a single beast could be found. Even the beasts near the Sky Dragon Mountain range had long fled after hearing the news. There was dead silence within a radius of millions of miles. Let's go. Qin Feiyang smiled and raised his hand. The power of law rushed out and blasted the giant peak with the word Sky Dragon Mountain Range engraved on it. With a loud bang, the giant peak collapsed on the spot. Immediately, the group opened a space-time tunnel and left without looking back. Imperial Capital Mountain. The destroyed Imperial Capital Mountain was being repaired. In a temporary palace. The Emperor was sitting on the throne above. The woman in white was sitting next to the Emperor. Below, Dong Qingyuan, the dragon god, Kuanpeng, Dong Hanzong, the inner demons, and Lu Jiajin were also sitting on a chair. Except for the Emperor and the woman in white, the inner demons and the others were still in soul form. Everyone was silent. The atmosphere in the hall was a bit heavy. Your Majesty. Suddenly, a hurried roar sounded. Following closely, a guard in golden armor hurriedly ran in. Seeing the panicked appearance of the guard, the Emperor and the others couldn't help but twitch their eyelids. Could it be that something bad had happened again? Speak. The Emperor suppressed the uneasiness in his heart and said. The guard said in panic, there was news earlier, the Sky Dragon Mountain range, speaking of this. The guard glanced at the dragon god, seemingly very afraid. Sky Dragon Mountain range? Everyone was stunned. The dragon god suddenly stood up and asked, how is my Sky Dragon Mountain Range? The Sky Dragon Mountain Range was razed to the ground by Qin Feiyang and the others, and those beasts that mastered the ultimate profound were all taken away by Qin Feiyang and the others. The guard said. What? The heavenly dragon god's body suddenly swayed and almost fell down. Dong Hanzong, Dong Qingyuan, and Kunpeng's faces instantly turned gloomy. The emperor clenched his hands tightly. It seemed that he was also trying to control the anger in his heart. Sigh. Sure enough, as we expected, they would go to the Sky Dragon Mountain Range to kill them all. Fortunately, your souls were transferred to the imperial capital mountain in advance, otherwise the consequences would be unimaginable. The woman in white glanced at them and sighed. Hearing the words of the woman in white, Kunpeng and the dragon god couldn't help but break out in cold sweat. Although they didn't have a physical body. Because what the woman in white said was the truth. If they didn't think of this in advance, not only the Sky Dragon Mountain Range and the beasts in the Sky Dragon Mountain Range, but also the dragon god and the other beast kings would have died tragically. But I don't understand, why did they take away the beasts in the Sky Dragon Mountain Range? The strength of these beasts isn't strong. The woman in white was suspicious. Empress, you have been in seclusion all year round, so you don't know. Qin Feiyang has a companion called Longchen. This person has the soul-controlling technique, which can easily control others and deprive them of their ultimate profound. Now, they must have this plan by taking away the beasts in the Sky Dragon Mountain Range, to deprive all the beasts of their ultimate profound. Dong Qingyuan said in a deep voice. There's such a method? The woman in white was shocked. Their current strength is getting stronger and stronger, we can't continue like this. We have to think of a way to get rid of them as soon as possible. The emperor said with murderous intent. But as soon as these words came out, no one in the hall answered. Even the prideful Dong Hanzong remained silent at this moment. Because, he was powerless. Lu Jiajin glanced at this group of people, and his eyes suddenly flashed. He looked at the emperor and said with a faint smile, Your Majesty, I have a suggestion. What good suggestion do you have? In the Thousand Demons Valley, before the battle even started, your physical bodies were destroyed. From the beginning to the end, you didn't make any contribution to this battle. If I were you, I would be tactful and shut up. Dong Hanzong looked coldly at the inner demons and Lu Jiajin. Can you blame us for this? At that time, Qin Feiyang and the others suddenly came out, and we were completely unprepared. We're lucky to be able to keep our lives. Let's talk about it later. Princess Yuxian obviously has the origin force, but she didn't tell us. Otherwise, our physical bodies wouldn't have been destroyed. Speaking of which, she still doesn't trust us. The inner demon snorted. Listening to what you said, it's still the princess' fault? Dong Hanzong said angrily. All of you, shut up. What's the point of discussing who's right and who's wrong now? The emperor stared at the inner demons and Dong Hanzong, his eyes full of anger. He then looked at Lu Jiajin and said, Say, what suggestion? You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.